What's up, guys? It's Finna from Dodge here. With the top 5 placing in the group stage, we plan to shake up the top of the leaderboard in the finals. We're the best new team around, brand new roster, 4 new players that haven't really played together before, and still somehow we managed to get into the top 5 group stage. If you want to vote for a new team with a lot of potential, vote for us.
Hey everyone, this is Chubba from the Houston Hardshifts telling you why you should be picking us over Dodge in the PCS3 Pick'ems Challenge. Dodge, you know, new team, kind of in the honeymoon phase for groups, you know. They might be the regular season wonders. They kind of flounder in the finals a bit. I didn't even really bother setting up my webcam because, I mean, the choice between us and Dodge should be really easy for everyone.
I'm Snickers from Oath. To make sure you vote for Oath in the Pick'em Challenge because we're the best NA team there is. So you should definitely vote for Oath over Zenith since Zenith is the 5th place team. So Shin and Poon actually used to be on my team. So, you know, when I played with them, I didn't give them all the best tips and tricks because, you know, I knew they were going to be enemies eventually. So now I know everything I can do against them to beat them.
We're not settling for 2nd, we're not settling for 3rd, and we're sure as hell not settling for 4th or 5th again. So we're gonna come out there, we're gonna frag out, and we're gonna make sure that we cash in on your pick'em votes. Because I know for a fact that Zenith Esports is coming out to be on top, so there's no room for Oath at the top of North America.
Hey guys, I'm H-Wind from Sonics. Vote for us in PCS3 Finals. You should vote for us because we won PCS2 Finals with ease. To be honest, I think it'll be just as easy this time coming around. Don't waste your vote on anyone else like SDK or a bunch of kids like Oath. Vote Sonics.
I'm Ayla from SDK, and this is why you should vote for us in the Pick'em Challenge. We are the best team, undisputed. Make sure you vote SDK.
Hey guys, it's Wooly from Duel. Make sure you vote for us. We're the only team that lifts, and health is important.
I heard Wooly was stepping up, trying to say they're the only team that do lifting. And that's kind of crazy because I swear the last time I seen them, they all had the tiniest little stick arms that I've ever seen for a human. Don't vote for them, vote for us.
The thing I'm looking forward to the most in Grand Finals is killing Zenith.
Hey guys, McCoy here from Rumblers. You guys should vote for us because, you know, we don't have 2 ping abusers on our team. And, you know, we didn't really do much shooting in qualifiers, so that means we got a lot of pew-pew built up. So just make sure you vote for us, because we're way cooler than everybody else.
What's up, everybody? I'm Shop4K. I'm here to tell you to vote for ATC for PCS3. Last time we were any trolls in chat, but this time we're any tryhards in chat, and we're coming for top 3. Definitely don't vote for Veritas for your pick'ems unless you like teams that get 1v forward. Don't waste your votes. Check out the clip. Comms, they're pushing us. 100%, they're pushing us.
Almost knocked 2. Still up.
Knocked 1. All dead. SDK's all dead. God, they're so bad. Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Make sure you vote for comments in PCS3.
Hello, this is Haxete from Team Fabled. You should vote for Team Fabled because we're only 50% NA. We have a huge advantage here.
Hey guys, I'm Steezy from Tactical 8, and I have 8 reasons to vote T8. 1, we don't rely on ping, NA by the way. 2, Williams Salad. 3, Lush Prone's better than anyone. 4, sell it. 5, best team for content plays, win or lose. 6, you want more hot drops. 7, not last. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you don't need an 8th reason. OT8. Thanks, guys.
My name is Manhari, and I'm the IGL for Team One Eye Open. We recently finished 15th in the North America group stage, and we're on our way to the Grand Final, despite it being our first PCS phase ever. Now, I'm going to let you in on some secrets, and in exchange, I want you to vote for our team in the Pick'em Challenge. Number 1, the only 2 teams capable of winning this are Sonics and SDK. Number 2, don't vote for Zenith Esports. All they do is spend their time losing hot drops and scrims, and it's embarrassing. Vote for the underdogs, vote for Team One Eye Open.
Hey, what's up, guys? Honey Badger here for the Guadalajara Gas Cans. I'd just like to remind you guys to vote for the Gas Cans in the PCS3 Grand Finals. We've got a ton of new talent coming into the North American scene this phase. Oldest and Nikos, it's their first time playing in North America, so they'd really appreciate your vote. The early game of PUBG is traditionally a little slower, so we're going to actually try to change that. We're going to be looking to add some aggression into the early game, so stay tuned and make sure you watch those first 5 minutes of the game. Hope you guys have a great day. I appreciate all of you. Stay tuned for PCS3 Grand Finals.
Hey guys, it's Icy Flex from Illusion. This phase will be playing under LLR as a tribute to Ranger, who was once a player on our team that most recently passed away. A vote for us is a vote for Ranger, so get out and vote, and we'll see you in Grand Finals.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching around the world. Welcome back. It is the second day of the second weekend of PCS3 North America. This is where the rubber hits the road. We're past the halfway point, and the stoppers have to be pulled. But before we can get to the action, let's talk about what to expect, starting out with the schedule, so you know what's happening going forward. It is a PUBG Palooza, baby. This month, November, is all about the drops and the frags. We're here on the 13th, but it's not over for the weekend. Europe and APAC take over the reign starting tomorrow for yet another week of awesome PUBG play. And then, of course, we'll be back again on the 19th and the 20th for the final weekend of play. The teams playing are on the right side of your screen. We'll go over them a little bit more throughout the day, but there's a nice little snapshot for you to take a look at who your favorites are and where they might end up, as it's been a little bit surprising in some aspects. We'll break into that in just a little while. For now, let's look at the format. Day 4, Erangel, followed by 2 Miramar to wrap up the week of play. Some teams going to be very desperate to put up some big numbers there. How do you do it? You get points. First place is worth 10, and it goes down from there. 1 kill is 1 point, and while it doesn't seem like first place will come down to a 1-kill tiebreaker, kills are the tiebreaker. So every kill point, I should say, really, really does matter. But what are you playing for? What's the point of getting all these points? It's the cash. You want your share of $200,000 plus 12.5% of in-game sales. First place gets $50,000. It goes on down to the consolation prize of $2,000. That said, the 12.5% goes equally to everyone who is involved. So if you are buying the skins, if you are involved, it is a great chance for you to support your team. You know that they're going to get their fair share there, even if they don't get a great spot in the top 16. This is what they're looking to win, and I am excited about it. Now, it is not just all about which team wins. There's a chance for you to win as well. You can go online right now to PUBG and put in your pick'ems. and show us just how well you know the competitive scene and win cool options, cool points, and cool prizes. Here's a video to explain a little bit more about how you can get involved.
PUBG Continental Series 3, our very last global PUBG Esports event for 2020, kicks off on November 5th, and like its predecessors, will feature a Pick'em Challenge full of hot new rewards. This Pick'em Challenge begins on October 28th for PC, or the 29th for console players, and lasts for 3 weeks, closing on November 19th, right before the final week's match begins. During this time, you can check out real-time tournament standings, information on participating teams, and player stats in the Esports tab in-game. You can also get some information on how teams performed from regional qualifiers, and even which players to put your eyes on. So get the information you need here and increase your chance to win. As before, the challenge has 2 events, Pick the Winner and Team Face-Off. Pick the Winner lets you predict the overall winners from each region. Placing a vote here requires a voting coupon, and you may only vote for each team once. Successful predictions will earn you 100,000 EP per region, for a maximum possible 400,000 EP and bragging rights if you manage to guess them all. Voting coupons can once again be obtained by purchasing PCS3 items, up to a maximum of 14 coupons. You can also get a free coupon by watching PCS3 live streams, which we'll get into in a moment. As always, your purchases directly support our great teams, with 25% of PCS3 item profits distributed to teams across the 4 regions. Profits will be split between supplementing the overall prize pool and being distributed equally among participating teams. Show your team spirit and increase your chances to win by picking up the new PCS3 gear. Our second game is Team Face-Off, a free way for you to earn EP by picking the winner between 2 rival teams. You can make a pick for each face-off without any coupons or purchase necessary. EP prizes here are once again weighted based on how many votes each team has gotten. Voting for the underdog may be risky, but it also might just earn you up to 7,600 EP if your team claims victory. We've added a small quality of life update this time around as well, letting you see how many voting coupons you have and which teams you voted for in the event summary page. You can now also claim all your rewards at once, making life a bit easier when you win big. Want to earn your free voting coupon and some EP? Pay close attention during PCS3 live streams. If you see a code pop up, enter it in-game quickly. Doing so will earn you your 1 free voting coupon for the tournament. Easy, right? Well, as long as you're faster than everyone else. You can also add some additional EP to your wallet by watching for Twitch drops and quizzes. Twitch drops are now available on both console and Steam accounts. To participate, make sure your platform, Twitch, and PUBG accounts are all linked, and watch PCS3 on Twitch. You can get started easily by visiting accounts.pubg.com and logging in or creating your PUBG account if you haven't already. From here, you'll have easy access to link your accounts. Once linked, you can earn up to 30,000 EP just by spending time watching the PCS3 action live on twitch.tv/PUBG. Finally, just like PCS2, random quizzes will sometimes appear during the PCS3 broadcast on the PUBG Global Esports Twitch channel. Answer some questions right, and you'll get some EP. Now that you've earned a ton of EP, you can purchase your various PCS3 exclusive items from the esports shop. You can claim your earned rewards starting November 24th and can spend EP in the esports shop until December 9th. PCS3 is starting up soon, so now's a great time to do some research and plan out your strategy. All 4 PUBG regions are participating, and the more you watch, the better your odds of scoring unique skins for your own matches. We know it's been a tough year for many, but you've helped make 2020 a great year for PUBG Esports, and we're excited to close it out with our best tournament yet. PUBG Esports, PCS3, and the Pick'em Challenge. Get in on the action today.
Now you know how you can get involved. Let's get some more folks involved. I got Clover and Porosaurus going to be joining me on the desk today. Very excited about that. But before we get too deep into this, guys, I want to tell you something very important. It's coupon codes are going to be given out throughout the broadcast after each match. Twitch drops, quizzes during PCS live streams. Twitch broadcast channels are going to have all kinds of cool stuff, and you can acquire more free coupons and esports points while you watch. But you have to link your Twitch, your stream, and your PUBG accounts if you want that to be effective. So make sure you do that right now. All right. Intro, plug, intro, guys. I'm glad to have you back. I'm excited about today. I'll be honest. I was kind of depressed sitting at home watching and not getting to have the fun with you guys on the desk. Great job yesterday, Poro, though.
Well, hey, thanks. Definitely only filling in until the greatness returned. But we got through it. We got through it okay. Some interesting games with a not so interesting conclusion, I guess.
It was interesting games. And Clover, I would love to hear more about your insights on yesterday's games as we watch highlights.
Highlights.
Man, it's so good getting those highlights right back. No, I mean, we did have some really great action yesterday. I know I'm not mirroring the energy here, but Sonics in the late game, that was kind of the story of yesterday. We only really had one bad match, and we thought, is this the turn of things to maybe change, give some of these other teams a chance? And ultimately, that wasn't the case, but that's also not to say that some of these other teams didn't do a lot of work in terms of their growth on leaderboard and kills.
Yeah, there was definitely a few teams that had fantastic days yesterday, but what can you do when everything you do is getting outshined by the team that's in first place, constantly climbing, constantly separating the gap from everybody else? You know, I mean, there's only so much you can do, but we'll still try to acknowledge how well some of these guys did. Vegas. Oof. Can we say that Vegas is back for like the 15th time now? I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to do it.
Did we jinx it, though? Don't jinx it. We shouldn't jinx it.
Nah. I don't think you can jinx it at this point.
I think, though, for sure, right? So much great play, not only from Vegas, but once again, Mime, right? Primetime Mime time. We saw a lot of great action from him yesterday in terms of Sonic, even this play on this hill that so many teams had a heartbreaking conclusions there to see some roadkill. Poonage, unfortunately, just couldn't seem to get away from some of that.
Poonage was just a hood ornament yesterday for some reason. I'm not sure what it was, but... you know, you bring up Sonics and you bring up Mime, but, you know, on the back end of that, there was STK who just, you know, it looked like they were coming into this week looking a lot stronger. And first game, they looked great. And then it just kind of fell off from there. So, you know, obviously we don't want to spend too much time talking about them. I mean, they're sitting in ninth place right now, but it's really hard to deny that they've kind of fallen off a little bit, Toffees.
Speaking of looking great, I want to touch on something that happened earlier this week, and it was you looked great as the captain of an airplane. Yeah. And I gotta say that video inspired me, and I hope it inspires our viewers to check out PUBG Esports on TikTok at pubg.esports.official. Did you know that if you tag hashtag esports for all and PCS3 NA on your PUBG TikTok content, just like Poro, you could be featured live on the broadcast. So if you think you could fly the plane better or do a really good Godspeed cosplay, please go over there. Please tag it because I want to see you on the broadcast. All right, guys, we talked a little about yesterday. I think we'll comment more about Vegas going forward, Clover, as I think Vegas, just like his namesake, has been closed for business for a while, but has made sort of a great comeback recently. And I'm glad to see it. That said, let's take a look at how all the teams did with the leaderboard. We'll start with you, Clove.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Gross, right? 144 for Sonics, and the only triple-digit team in terms of points now. Guadalajara Gas Cans, Dual Oath, Zenith, Dodge, great games yesterday. Even the Rumblers, right? Looked really comfortable and fancy on Miramar. I'm hoping to see some of that today, but it's also a little bit close for some of these teams on the left-hand side, and so one good day for any of these guys, and this is an easy shift for teams in 2nd to 8th place, but it's that big leap that the Sonics have that I think is going to be the story that we're going to keep talking about, because that's going to be really hard to catch up. I mean, this is kind of mirroring what we saw from PCS2.
Poro, have you ever been to the beach?
Yes.
You know when you're on the beach and there's that point where the beach just, like, the reef drops away and there's this unfathomable depth past it?
Indeed,
I feel like that's 9th and 10th place right now.
It kind of feels that way, doesn't it? There's definitely a drop off just after midway here. I mean, Fabled, it seems like from 10 through 16 just cannot get anything going whatsoever. And I'm actually surprised by it, to be honest, because there's some teams down there that I really kind of had my eye on to make an impression here in the grand finals. I mean, Comets being one of them, Illusion, Hardshifts, Any Trolls. I mean, all these teams, you kind of had eyes to maybe be that team that would get involved and get in the way, and maybe they are to an extent with shoot to kill, but nobody really is infringing upon Sonic's territory at the moment.
It's absolutely brutal. That said, though, we want to honor some teams, take an extra look at some of them. So let's do that right now. I'm going to start with my standout team. I got a chance to watch yesterday and kind of go over some of the numbers. And for me, the Guadalajara Gas Cans have been a standout. 96 points. They're in 2nd place currently. we talked about them behind the scenes and a little bit on broadcast prior to this tournament. Is like, oh, these guys have a lot of potential. But I personally can say the potential, like what they've lived up to has been, not to be mean, kind of shocking to me, but I have been very, very impressed with them, and they deserve, in my opinion, the standout recognition for how they have been playing. Clover, talk to me about maybe the underdog going into today.
You know, this was a bit of a story, but it's going to be shoot to kill, right? They are in 9th place, which is shocking considering how they played in the group stages, what we know that they're capable of. For whatever reason, things are just not going their way. And now the reason I say it's the underdog, because at this point they've got a lot of work ahead of them to try and climb back up. And I think that the potential is there. If there's anything we know about this team, is that when they're down, they find a way to climb again, but they've got a very big climb ahead of them. So I'm looking to see if they can, you know, maybe not bridge the 74-point gap between them and shoot to kill, or Sonics, but I think easily, if they have a good day today, they can find themselves in the top 3.
And Poro, talk to me about a team that's been a surprise for you.
Shoot, well, I mean, there's been plenty of surprises to be found, but you know that drop off that we were talking about on the beach there.
Yes.
You could call that the Veritas drop off. To be honest, Veritas 52 points on day 1. Since then, they've gotten 19 points across 2 days. I mean, they have just fallen off an absolute cliff. I mean, they get 32 kills in day 1, only 16 since then. They got 29 points in one game day 1, and they've only gotten 19 points since then. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but hopefully they can find something to maybe rally here, because, I mean, going from 11-point day to an 8-point day yesterday is just not going to get it done, and hopefully they can kind of salvage this and maybe earn themselves a little bit more money.
I mean, it's wild. 19 kills, right, to come out of day 1, which is legendary status, to 19 points. Those are bigger swings than Babe Ruth, Clover. And can you recover from that? I mean, does Veritas come back?
You know what? There's a possibility. I mean, that's a story with so many teams right now. They've had some great games putting down double-digit kills, and then a lot of 0-1 point games for some of these, shoot to kill included. I think there's so many teams that we could really list out right now that were a little bit disappointed or confused about their performance here in the grand finals. But, you know, we're halfway through. We've got 3 more days, you know, today and next week ahead. And this is the point where sometimes those changes start to happen. So it's now or never for these guys.
Halfway through, that means that technically any point total that's been earned thus far could be earned by another team going forward. That's some sort of crappy North American math, but it's doable. That said, let's talk about who we think is going to win this thing. I picked on day 1, and I will stand by them despite the dominant performance by Sonics. I'm going to stick with Oath. I'm taking the Oath. I'm living the Oath. I think way they may struggle to get to first at this point, I think they're still going to finish very strong. I've been impressed with them. Clover, your pick.
I pick a Sonics. I mean, just the way that all 4 of those guys look right now, they look completely tuned in. We're seeing, you know, an improved mirror of PCS2, if anything. So I have faith that this team's going to go far this series.
I would say it's a relatively safe pick, but we'll see. Big Tig wins games. Poro, are you going down the path of least resistance, or you got something fun for me?
Absolutely not. I stick with I stick to my guns, man. I came into PCS3 with high hopes for Oath, and I'm sticking with them. I still think that they can do it. I was a little bit disappointed with them yesterday because they finally got a Mill to Power circle. They did well. They didn't win it though, and I was kind of hoping that would be maybe a game where they could collect a lot more points. But we'll see if things kind of keep going in their favor this time, and in the second half of the series.
You'd love to see it, and I'll be honest, guys. You know, we like to see the team that we picked do well, because then we get to brag about it on the broadcast. So Oath, know that behind the scenes in the green room, every time you get the circle, Poro and I are going to be cheering, not to the detriment of the other teams, but because we want to be right, and we quite enjoy that. All right, so the games are getting ready. We're going to head to the casters in just a minute. It is the halfway point, though. It's about to kick off. All the beans are out of the can. That is not an actual metaphor. I was going to ask you a question, but they said the game's ready, and we don't like to make you wait. So with the terrible beans metaphor, let's send it over to the whole can of beans. The masters of the campfire. It is Hypoc and Matchroom with the call.
Beans.
I don't know what to do with that one there. I'm
So,
sure there was a.
yeah, I guess we're just going to go ahead and shift away from Bean's conversation into the fact as the analyst desk talked about several different times, we've moved past everything, and now we're at the halfway point from this stage moving forward. But there's been a couple of standout teams that are kind of drawing both your and my attention, and we wanted to address them before we hit those early game sections. Hi, Pac, where are you wanting to start at?
I mean, the first one for me is Duel. This is obviously a team that we've talked about at length this year. I think that's fair to say. Through, I would say, the highs and the lows, but mostly lows. But no, it's really good to see them sitting in third position right now, because I know obviously how much it means to those guys after having a particularly rough year. I think they are capable of more than what they've showed us so far, and it's finally coming to fruition now in PCS3. I mean, yesterday itself, a third place, first place, obviously eighth place, and that's first, sixth, fourth, and third. Which is just night and day from what we've seen previously. And that's really good to see. I mean, that's one team I think that's heavily impacted by momentum. I think, that's worked against them for most of this year. The roster change this time around, things are starting to come together. I'm hoping they can come out, close this weekend off in particular, as a solid plus for them, because I think they absolutely deserve it as well, Matt.
I know we talk about momentum a lot whenever we're moving into this, and game one about to kick off in just 1 second. But just so you guys can understand, there is a little bit of an untangible that comes into play after you win multiple firefights through several rounds in a row. You just start to feel like in the groove, and you start having less of a fear of, I guess, passivity that comes into play. You're like, okay, we can make a play off of this. We're hot right now. We can win this team fight. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that, specifically kind of carrying over from light skirmishes in the early to mid stages of it, that really applies a lot of pressure whenever we move into the end game circles.
Yeah, and I think particularly for a team like Duel, once they kind of shake that off, and I know Wooly is he's a very reactive IGL, and if ever it's the decision between rotating somewhere and taking a fight, more often than not, Duel are a team that try and think their way out of a situation. So you're definitely right. The fact that they've won a couple of team fights, and that then becomes part of the decision making. It's like, well, there's a team there, we need to move through them. And that's when I talk about momentum, it's exactly that you've just said. It's the ability to confidently say, let's go and take this fight, let's take this ground, take this compound, and we're going to win the game from there.
Well, you alluded to something pretty interesting, and the more cerebral style of play that we see come out of Duel, and the way that they move through different sections of the map in comparison to others.
Good stuff.
Yes, hi, Pollock. That plane path into that circle, this is what I want to get everything started up. Gas cans, T8, Duel, dodge, and it looks like Comet's in a little bit of trouble getting some shots thrown their way, but they should be fine. Only teams inside the circle right now. But what I was going back to is, usually that's kind of the way we describe shoot to kill for a very long period of time. And it almost feels like Duel is kind of taking over that role of being the more cerebral approach and tactical approach in a lot of the team fights.
Yeah, and actually on the flip side of that, we've seen SDK employ this kind of brawling on the edge kind of play style that really works for them. I mean, the one that keeps sticking out to me is every time we see these Milton Power circles and the way they play towards Lumber. And again, that stretches back to, the final game of PCS1, where that's kind of, they'll sit hard on the north edge, and, no matter what circle comes next, it's kind of just this step-by-step progression into the circle. And not necessarily winning the game, but again, if you know that your circle's screwed on circle 2, and again, coming from South Georgia to Milton Power, it's the next thing after a military circle. It's the worst circle SDK can see. But that ability to not even salvage, but absolutely maximize the number of points from a terrible situation that's made SDK looked, aside from so far in PCS3, but looks so good this year, Matt.
A team that's not looking so good this year is Comets. I'll be real. I came in with a lot of expectations for Comets and the way that they're playing. The fragging power on this team and the experience on this team, all these players have been around for quite a while. It just feels like there's some thing that's missing to have them completely gel together. Like we even talked about yesterday that Vegas did end up in the top 5 kills for one round based off of, I think, clutching up a 1v3 fight. But we haven't, I expected to see a lot more of that, even in disadvantaged positions, seeing, as we see Duel rotate right now, Comets just kind of lean more into their firepower capabilities.
Yeah, I think it's always very difficult to put your finger on why a team that looks very good on paper isn't clicking. And I hate the term clicking. Hold that thought for a sec, because Sonics and Veritas, interestingly enough, getting into it, just coming down south of Pachinki, Matt. This is, again, similar sort of timings we'd expect from Sonics, but Veritas are here pretty early.
I like this coming out from Keenan. You have to expect Sonics might go for just like a little cheeky seat swap, but instead a couple of shots going to go out. Force Sonics to shift away so that way they don't try anything too tricksy coming back the direction. And now Veritas also has a little bit of an inside track, but this isn't the last trap that they have to face. There is the Comets that are already looking like they're trying to set up for some type of roadblock, bridge block positioning, and I think that Veritas might have a whiff of it. Yep, a couple of shots come out from Comets. That means that Veritas is now going to shift back down towards the beachhead, potentially looking for a boat.
Yeah, I mean, this should be avoidable here for obviously with Sonics now they're going to approach this cautiously from the north side. Again, Veritas has got to be careful because they're the team that stands to get pinched, and actually Comets are going to pull all the way south. Actually Vegas still over at the yellows, possibly that could be a map bug again. No, he's actually in the vehicle there, apologies for that, but Comets pulling away to the south side here I think is the right decision. Maybe they heard some of those shots traded back and forth between Sonics and Veritas, and they know two teams are coming towards. But interestingly enough, Sonics are actually pulling up here down towards the ferry pier.
Apparently they wanted some more. They were like, okay, you managed to dodge us around the hillside, but we want to go after this one. Veritas now in a little bit of trouble. Good shot's going to go and connect back over towards Mime, but Keenan is trying to hold the line back over away from this. He's just got too many flank points that are coming back over towards him. So a quick exchange on both sides. As you can see, Michael and Jazza both connecting on a Tiggleton to get him down and flushed real quickly. Shrimsy gets a return flush back over onto it, but here come the reinforcement angles coming up from Veritas. Sonics now in a firmly defensive position back along this hillside. I don't know if Veritas is going to push too much more for this one, and it looks like they might be retreating out of position. Just a couple of shots coming up from D-Treats to provide cover, and yeah, everything's going to settle down just a little bit. Mime, I know you're a little trigger happy right now, but what did Shrimsy do to you?
Wow. I mean, yeah, great reaction.
I don't know. You're the ex-professional player, Hypoc. This is where you're supposed to give me insight. I just call it as I see it, man.
I'm not allowed to talk about team kills. That's one thing that's off the books for me. But just looking at that, we'll have to keep an eye on the kill feed because Hardshift's actually pulling up onto the backside of that situation between Sonics and Veritas. So watch out for that for the kill feed for the time being. Meanwhile, Zenith have made it down south of the bridge. That's now, I guess, well, Gascan's actually pulling all the way back to military base. Did pull one of these away, but Duel, One Eye Open, and Zenith. We did actually One Eye Open and Duel in the kill feed previously as well, trading shots back and forth. But Zenith look like they're going to try and take the watchtower just west side of Crossroads here. This is Hardshift. This is what I was talking about. They actually look like they're opting to go west here, Matt, instead.
Yeah, they're having to shift away because we still have that Veritas Sonics thing that's kind of going on. Hardshift's kind of cut back over towards the west. Shoot to Kill is already over at Primorsk as well.
I was going to say, Shoot to Kill have been there for the last few minutes. I don't know if they're just waiting for somebody to come up and try and take a boat. This one's a little far away. I can't see any of the player icons pointing this direction. But it's interesting that Shoot to Kill have just been sat there for the last kind of minute and a half or so.
I get the feeling like we're about to see a Navy play, maybe just hop on a boat and position and wait to see where the next circle goes and then maybe use the reposition off of that. Should be noted, Rumblers, ATC, and Illusion not inside the circle right now either. They're all pretty far up towards the north. So a lot of our teams just kind of going out, and Relo's going and getting ahead, getting an early Christmas present for himself. So it looks like he's just going to go ahead and hop out and get that crate. There are no teams that should be taking any shots at him, so this should be pretty free coming up for him. We also do see, I believe, Fabled making a swim across the canal, trying to make it towards military. I think that they have two playing across the hillside towards the north, making sure to cover the people as they swim across. But right now, it's just kind of a scattering of teams that are kind of reacting to what's been going on with this kind of Western, I don't even want to say a bridge camp, because it feels like it was started with a bridge camp with Comets, but then Comets moved very early, and everybody else just kind of got stuck there. Oh, so speaking of getting stuck, red shot, be careful with grass.
So there's one thing I've noticed with these Sosnovka circles in LA, especially as the year has progressed, teams have tended to not want to sacrifice that positioning to, you know, maybe pick up a couple of kills on the bridge. Or if they do, it's a very similar situation to what we saw with Comets. They send a few shots out. If they don't get that initial knock, they don't commit to it. They come across, they prioritize positioning, which is good because now we see a lot more teams early rotating these Sosnovka circles. And, you know, historically, milli circles in NA, you'd have like 15, 20 people dying like as circle 1 comes to close in. So it's good to see. Obviously, there's still lots of space on Sosnovka with everybody. Nobody's really contesting each other right now. And really, what, 3 teams still on the north side?
Shoot to kill in a little bit of trouble, but it was just Michael that was holding the firing line. The rest team now coming back over, but it looks like shoot to kill should be in position. Circle does pop. I mean, it's still got mostly military. It's got a lot of those like southern islands that are still kind of in play. Really, it's just going to be hard shifts, Fabled. Our team's not yet inside the circle that are going to have to worry about a little bit of a repositioning, as well as Veritas. So this late movement does pay off for shoot to kill. Gas cans had a very wide spread. You can see Honey Badger playing off of position right now over next to T8, while the rest of them were playing in military base proper. So now we're starting to see a little bit of a recenter come into play, as I believe Zenith are making a play for it as well. So we might see Zenith and Gas Cans potentially bumping into each other as Comets starting to make their push back down towards the south and relieving some of the pressure that was shoot to kill's way. As you can see, a good shot's going to be coming out from Monty to go ahead and get the flush out onto Jazza.
Yeah, actually, Gas Cans, oh my God, Honey Badger lighting up the kill feed right now. There you go, Zenith. Actually going to fall in 16th place, and that was the fight you were talking about just off screen, other side of the runway, actually. Yeah, Veritas again taking more casualties, and very split now. Michael's actually going to get picked off here later, landing those final shots. And yeah, I mean, Dietrich is already way far east of this. I think he's potentially going to come back and maybe send some shots this direction, but
that's a little bit of a mess
to
there.
Clean up.
Honey Badger got himself a mountain of bodies that he's sitting on top of. Comets look like they're going to go ahead and make the play back over here to flush out Michael and make sure to get a couple more points off of positioning. Hardships are also along a similar angle and might opt into taking a couple of shots, but it looks like they're staying a little bit more quiet in their high ground and just eyeing to see how Comets are going to move through this. Should be noted, ATC, Fabled, Rumblers, and Illusion still not even in circle. Really, ATC, Rumblers, and Illusion are not even on military base yet, so they are going to be coming in, but there's kind of free movement up towards the northern part of the circle, so they should still be pretty fine. Really, it's about the cluster that we see kind of moving towards the center right now, as Gas Can's still continuing to get a lot of control over that center section of the map. And again, it's just due to early game aggression and firefights. It feels like that's where Gas Cans shines so well.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially that, it's early on in Circle 2. Obviously, seeing Zenith make that rotation, and they were spread very thin, Matt. That's the thing to consider. Yeah. Obviously, Zenith pulling up onto that maybe had themselves not necessarily a straight 4v2, but they definitely didn't have all of Gas Cans kind of pressuring that. But from them being so split across the southeast side of military base, it allows them to get multiple angles on Zenith as they pull up. And I mean, although we watched it in the kill feed, we saw how that ended for them.
I mean, and still a great positioning coming out. Shoot to kill trying to reposition right now, passed over next to T8. Gonna just take a couple of shots and looks like try to go for a little bit. Well, no, maybe just try to keep the vehicle safe, keep it in that low ground point. Rest of T8 are starting to come back in to provide a little bit of reinforcements, as it looks like they are going to be squabbling over the southern position that does have a lot of fortifications. And remember, there is a lot of water still inside this circle, so we might see this become a bigger factor in the later sections of this game.
Yeah, one thing I was about to say, it's good now to see Weimu and Lush reposition a little bit, because Steezy taking a lot of the pressure there in holding STK back, and it looks like actually you can see how stacked up STK is. They're ready to take this foot push. Again, you rotate onto military without a vehicle. Actually, Weimu's got a fantastic off angle. Kurt's going to fall. That's a really, really good reposition from him. I said Steezy was holding the line initially, but this pressure coming in from the rest of Attack 8 now could be STK falling early. They're boxed in.
Nice positioning coming out back behind this. Should be noted, Hardships are also making a move and look like they might be opting to a similar location. This is right on the edge of the circle, so a little bit more pressure being applied. Looks like Weem decided the fact that he does not want to be involved in what's going on right now, so Weem going to go ahead and make the play off to the side of this. That's going to mean a little bit more of a, I guess, a firefight now looking back over towards Zealot's direction. Keep an eye on Alo. He's already made a play for that lower point, trying to flush Steezy out of the defended point. But it's going to be a good shot that's going to connect back over onto Luke 12, coming out from Lush. So more and more dominance starting to show back over towards this position. We move back over towards the north, starting to find a new repositioned point, but he's not going to have an angle. This is an all low ground fight. Alo's down in a bad position right now, not capable of providing a lot of support, but could maybe find an upper angle, tries to get a couple of shots back into it, but now revealing himself. Weemu goes down the backside of this, and it's starting to turn pretty bad for T8. Quick pickup comes up for shoot to kill, and that is some much needed points for them.
They didn't need to commit to Alo there. They just needed to take the straight 2v1 onto Uncivil, and things just falling apart for Tactical 8, unfortunately, after initially looking like they were well positioned to hold that push, to be honest with you. I was about to say, this is the risk with SDK's game plan here on Sosdovka. Take the boat across, and you have to take these foot pushes.
Look at this. We can see Hardships going ahead and trying to set up a position around shoot to kill. They heard this firefight, and they are getting kind of antsy for this one. Going to go ahead and set up a defensive position, and looks like they might want to go for this.
Yeah, Loebs' position is huge here. He's got a fantastic opportunity to feed all this information across to his teammates, and looks like actually Hardships are going to collapse down to the compound. They need to stop this cross, though. If SDK get to the wall, that's going to give them a fighting chance.
They're starting to make their way through. Here comes the angle. Alo gets dropped near on instantly. Uncivil and Luke now have to be a little bit more cautious on their approach. They probably heard the vehicle circling back around towards them, but weren't aware of the positioning coming in so quickly. Civ running the bolt right now has to be very careful, as he could find himself in a flanked position. I think that they might be aware of Loebs. They hear the vehicle moving around them, and that's just going to be a firm regroup. Looks like using the hillside to try to make a pass back over to regroup as a firm set and look back over towards shoot to kill. Also, over towards the north, we can see that Illusion starting to rotate around a similar point as well. But Luke 12 has himself a nice little dip, connects on a shot back over towards Loebs, but he's going to pay for it. Shoot to kill goes down in 14th with a very solid tactical play coming out from Hardships.
Yeah, really good repositioning. And actually, other than Top Dog that's made his way in just north of this, he obviously heard these shots and changed his direction slightly. Other than Top Dog, there was a lot of space on that high ground that just runs south of the runway, Matt, for Hardships to kind of spread out and get a really good position. Here you go with the map. You can see how big that fight really is. It's got to cut the water out, obviously. So it is going to go, but it's going to give them a slice to play here, and it's high ground position, Matt. So they're going to have a good opportunity to scout in, maybe find some, much needed information at this point, but hopefully that's going to give them really good access to this next circle.
There's a little bit of everything bad in this circle, let's be real. We've got Antenna Tower that's still in play. We've got the old plateau that's back down towards the west of that position. There's the super hilly lands that are just south of Antenna Tower. There's the hill, a little bit of the hill that's north of Military Base proper that a lot of teams like to play in position. There's still even the bunkers that are in play. So there are so many little small factors where so many enemies can be hiding. We still have 42 up and alive at this point, but you can see right now Oath having to look on so many different angles to figure out where approaches could be coming from. But they have themselves a nice fortified position. Meanwhile, Fable running a very split location, trying to make sure that they hold down as much as they can. Do note, they are not inside the circle really, so really they're just trying to harass teams as they maneuver around them. Most notably Rumblers, who's trying to get a couple of shots back over, but it's also going to be Comets that they've got their eyes set towards.
And actually, I mean, Comet's reposition there really does draw a line along the edge of the circle. So Fable would have definitely got a big task ahead of them. They've obviously got Dodge over to the north, holding that pharmacy hilltop position you were talking about. You can see them just on the left side of the screen here. And Comets have set up the defensive line. Fantastic off angle actually from, I guess that's later, and Yaxley down on the south side of the split. But not many options for Fable, and it looks like they're going to head north. But Rumblers coming into that area that I said Hardships had good access to from that fight with SDK. So they've got to be careful here. If Rumblers are able to contest this spot, again, you've got to assume that some people aren't going to be looking down to the south side. And if any of this area is still in, it gives the team up here a really good opportunity to live out a lot of the players that are going to die in the circle.
It's just a firm defensive point where you have good sight lines and what could be approaching around you. You can look back down the hillside, pretty close towards that edge point. Hardships Maluk kind of having that same mindset, looking back that direction. Looks like the rest of his team's going to kind of regroup along a similar path. Use that little bit of a ridge line to try to defend up against Oath's positioning at this point. Never also to be understated the fact that we still have One Eye Open that's playing way up on top of Antenna Tower with vision for days. They can harass a lot of what's going on inside the circle. So whenever we're looking through this, it should be noted that center positioning is going to be quite favorable for a lot of teams. So whenever we're looking at that, Sonics do have a couple of remnants that are hiding over there. Gas cans, Veritas D-Treats also hiding out in a pretty good point. And Duel also, and this at this point, shouldn't be a surprise, in a very good position for an in-game circle.
Yeah, it is. I'm just Maluk's going to get so much information here. You can see that's being relayed also by his teammates on the top side. McCoy coming back to regroup here. But Maluk is in a position to play spoiler big time on Rumblers. They're going to have no idea that hardships are this split. Lost HD trailing a little bit over to the west, but you see the rest of hardships putting this damage down is going to make it very easy to Maluk to come up and capitalize on it.
Ooh, that gets a little bit of damage pushed over, but look at the reposition coming up from Chuba. With this in Luke's positioning now, they can kind of just pop up right along this ridgeline and do a ton of damage. Got to be careful, as it's going to be a couple grenades coming their way. Rest of hardships look like they might be trying to make sure that they maintain the firing lines. Maluke's just trying to stay ahead of the blue right now, but a couple of shots coming out from the side of it going to make it a little bit more problematic. Repositions now coming up from Rumblers. Looks like they have a read on what's going on. They're just kind of leaving Lowe's to play back in this position. They know that he's trapped, and he's just going to have to fight his way out of it. Wrapping up the grenade, going to go ahead and toss it, but it's going to be Luke's repositioning, moving closer. That's going to make it a little bit more problematic. Quick exchange coming back over towards him. Luke's going to go down, and this is looking like a good play coming out from Los. If he can just continue to harass back over towards Chuba's direction, he might be able to fight his way out of this. Waldo is down in the dipping position over this, and looks like McCoy is still just trying to tango back over with J-Sank and Lowe's based off of positioning. Lowe's creeping forward, making a play outside towards the blue, going to go ahead and get the flush back over, pick up the point that they can get off of that one. Already sitting at 4 kills. Now playing along the smokes, it's going to be another spot out over towards the Rumblers. That's going to be problematic, but it's actually going to get picked up by Vegas. Comet's getting a little bit more active inside of this fight as well. Looks like it's turning out to be quite problematic for several teams, as don't forget, Oath is now starting to reposition back behind this, and looks like they just want to just feast on the remnants of both teams.
Yeah, Oath actually, the whole time that was going on, they were sat here just kind of gathering information. They didn't fully commit to that third party. They want to hold on to the north side of this road, but good damage gone in. And now with this circle posted, they have no reason to push across the road. They have no reason to push across and try and pick up these kill points. Hardships have to come across to them.
A little bit of a fight happening back over towards the north as One Eye Open's trying to make their way back down the hillside and bumping into ATC at the side. Off towards the west, you can see it's also going to be Dodge and Fabled getting into a little bit of a skirmish, while it looks like Comets are going to be keeping an eye back over towards positioning. Hardships. It's all about the play that they want to make, and it looks like they're starting to feel going towards the north is a little bit too much for them. Instead, just going to hop in a vehicle, send it back over towards the circle, and they might have actually found themselves a little sneaky path to play from, because it looks like maybe Sonics might have an angle to play off of this. Shrimsy could do a little bit of damage, but High Ground Oath can harass a little bit depending on this pathing. They're heading back up this hillside, and they're just trying to get away from this one, but that is such a beautiful angle coming up from Snakers, and that is just absolute destruction getting rained back over towards the hardships as they go down in nice
damage. So much damage with those.
I thought they were going to play the low ground.
Yeah, I mean, they literally just needed to break LOS there. The problem being, obviously, if they go any further over that ridge, Sonics would have seen them, so can't call that one either way, unfortunately. Hardships do get picked off. ATC just getting back on their feet here as Masterlek sends it forwards a little bit. They did win the fight on the north side, up to 4 kills. They still got 4 up as well. Comets, meanwhile, actually pushing all the way over towards Dodge's position. We know previously Dodge were in the pharmacy. They had a little scuffle with Fabled on the way out, but Danny G, the last man standing, it's actually Oldless that finds it from distance. So Comets down to 3 members, but only 2 on their feet.
But look at the amount
now.
of points that they've managed to gather so far. Already sitting at 5. They're in position points. This is a much livelier Comets than what we've been seeing beforehand. Good positioning as well. They don't have to move too far for the circles. It looks like a lot of teams might be opting. Their most major competitor would be ATC, specifically Marselec, based off of positioning, but it looks like the rest of ATC is just going to play that little bit of a dip down next to where Duel is playing at. Gas cans are looking back over towards Comets' positioning, running in a little bit of damage, but Oath going to make their way back down the hillside. Really, we're just starting to see the map kind of break down into quadrants right now in positioning. So let's see if anybody gets a little bit more aggressive and starts sweeping around the outer edges. But it's really hard to move through the circle. As you can see the terrain setup where we're looking at right now, it's just hazardous as you make your way through because you don't know where an enemy could be hiding at.
Yeah, absolutely. As you see, Oath now making moves down the side of the hill. Obviously, we know Sonics have been in this area for some time now. I don't really think they've made their position too clear to Oath in particular. I'm sure Duel know exactly where they're at if they've been sending shots out. I know last member of Illusion did pull up on them, so Duel are going to have the info, but Oath maybe going to approach this one a little cautiously. Gas cans still need to make moves off the runway. They're still in the bunker. Not too many options for them to send it to after this. I mean, hoping this is in the next circle, to be honest with you.
They do have a lot of vehicles, so that might provide them a small chance to run away. But the problem is trying to make that drive around the bunker, man, so many people are going to look back over towards them, and it is just going to be raining bullets on any vehicle that tries to move through there. ATC trying to stretch their legs a little bit more and move safer into the circle, but looks like Comets are going to go for a reposition back around this. Let's see if ATC has the read on it. Looks like one of their members do at least, trying to reposition back into a little bit more of a defended position, playing next to the trees, maybe peek back up this hillside, and I like the movement coming out from any trolls in chat here. This is a good vision, good control point that they can try to play off of and can really feed a lot of information. Looks like Sharpshot also might be coming over to provide a little bit more support and just try to contain Comet's movements based off of positioning, because really, Comets has a stretch from the northern part of the circle all the way back down towards the middle part of the circle. Sure, it's very western leaning, but they're going to have a lot of vision and a lot of potential third party if they have this completely uncontested.
It will indeed. It's Comets now making moves over towards ATC. I don't know whether they're not going to commit to this over on the north side. Later looking back across. He's got to be careful though, because Sharpshot, see, very close on the underside. It's a really good setup from ATC actually. They preventing Comets from kind of over peaking and committing to any of these angles really. Monty and Later do have a little bit of space to play with, but they've got to be careful as well, the sightlines from Duo. I think that's why we see Later putting down the smoke. And actually the damage coming in from Aguila, just as he got some shots down onto Marselect. Circle posts. I don't think Comets are going to have any of that high ground to play from, really. They're probably going to have to commit to something across the road, but I'm kind of guessing this is going to come down to the blue, to be honest with you. Not really any viable pushes across here from Comets, to be quite honest.
Yeah, notable things right now is the fact that there was a crate that landed back over next to Duel. They did manage to pick that one up fairly uncontested. Oath is starting to make a little bit of a push back over towards Sonic's positioning. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see Duel lean back that direction. They kind of hear the firefight that's happening between ATC and Comets. So Sonics might find themselves pincered between 2 points if they are not careful and keeping a lot of awareness on what's going on around them. Gas cans, I believe their bunker is just got a smidgen of it still in place, so they might be able to just kind of hunker down in there, or bunker down in there, if you want to use that phrase as well. Comets instead makes a quick send across this. ATC doesn't connect with enough to do the damage to stop him off of it. Monty's going to go ahead and throw down a couple more smokes to get a little bit of positioning coming through, but high ground grenades starting to rain back down towards Comet's positioning. Vegas trying to get a line back over towards it. Leda gets dropped. Good shots coming out from Marselect and Sharpshot as well. And there you go. That's just a Sonics getting dismantled. But now ATC has to be careful. Gas cans moving forward. Voxic has an angle right up against the wall, looking back over towards what's going on. And really playing that outer wall right there might give Gas cans a lot more ability to stretch their legs and get control of what's happening in the fights around them. Oath was wanting to start to look back over next to Sonic's positioning, but had to stop due to shots coming out from Gas cans.
Yeah, Joe having to come away a little bit from the compound. ATC able to recover somewhat. Gas cans, decent sight lines, but I don't think they can really pressure any further, or more so than they have already. Now, I'm going to put my eyes back across towards Oath and Sonics, to be honest with you. Sonics have kind of, they've grouped up. They're both at, oh, okay, that nade nearly catching there, but Oath now definitely know exactly where Sonics are. They should make the most of this.
Look at Honey Badger's position. Look at, he sent it all the way across the circle towards the north, very separated away from the rest of his team, and he is just holding the lineup, trying to contain or draw aggro back over so that way his teammates can get some type of firing line. This is extremely brazen coming out from him, as he had to run by Oath, Sonics, Duel, and ATC to get into this position, and he's still fighting them off. He's taken a lot of damage, but look, it's just constant harassment coming up from his teammates, as anybody from ATC that tries to peek back over towards Honey Badger's position is getting instantly punished. These long-range shots are also stopping Oath and Duel in their tracks, as they now know they might have to participate in the firefights around them instead of taking these long-range skirmishes. Honey Badger, still clinging to life off to the side of this, has complete and utter trust in his teammates back behind him. Meanwhile, the north is starting to pop back off a little bit more, as you can see Oath getting a little bit of damage thrown back their way. Sonics are just kind of living in the shade of all the bullets that are just whizzing over their heads.
Yeah, Jewel not really able to get any further down that dirt road. Oath haven't really committed to cleaning up the Sonics just yet. Voxic falling over on the west side. It made things more difficult for the gas cans to really get much more done out of this. ATC only losing one from that push from Honey Badger. Obviously, he didn't commit to pushing up. Actually, so I'd say that he's coming a bit closer now. He's going to find the headshot onto Aguila now. Norkis not going to repeat that, but Honey Badger's doing a really good job from this position here.
What is he doing to ATC right now? Finally, Sharp Shot connects. The blue's going to be coming in. He's at least going to go ahead and get the flush. It's the moral victory coming out at this point, but he's got to be very, very careful. Duel still looking back along that angle. Sonics does go out as a quick extermination is going to come out from Oath. Oath now looking back over towards Duel's position, as well as Gas Cans look like they're starting to make a little bit more of a move back over towards the west. Get a little bit of vengeance back over towards their teammate. Sharp Shot's got to be careful, dodge that one out. Relo's starting to make his way back down the hillside. Yep, there you go. Any trolls in chat does get eliminated. So we've got Gas Cans way back over towards the west, but it's really just Oath and Duel stacked up on top of each other. Oath sitting at 8 kills right now on firm awareness of where Duel's playing at as they're trying to make their way back down this hillside, but it is just an exchange back and forth, knock for knock as they're looking through this. Lynxy trying to play back around, thinking maybe he can use the car for a little bit of cover as well as this dip, but you got to be careful. Throwables now starting to rain through as bodies are just rolling down the hillside. That's going to be a quick connect on that Molotov to take down Lynxy, and now it is just Pentalol looking back over onto position. Do note Gaskin still have one up back on the other angle and are just watching this fight. Penta goes for the above ground movement, goes for the spray into it, but does go down. So with this, Oath might be able to get a little bit more out of it, trying to peek back around the tree, seeing if they connect with the last member of Gas Cans, who's Boxic, just trying to hold on and see if maybe he can get within some type of range to maybe get a grenade back over towards Oath's position, but he's got to be very, very careful. Looking back around this, they know exactly where he is, trying to go for the peak, gets a couple of shots back over towards it, but doesn't connect. Boxic trying to use the tree line to move forward, but it's going to be Snakers that finds the shot, and Oath with 13 kills, picking up a big win for themselves.
Yeah, really good stuff from both, capitalizing on that position. Again, it kind of comes down to, you know, the result of that situation. I thought it was going to play into Hardshift's favor, but all of that space on the south side, as soon as those clear that up and they kill Hardshift trying to rotate, obviously in a vehicle coming in, they know that they can spread along that southeast corner of the circle, and it worked absolutely fantastically for them. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't take more ground early on, but, you know, can't fault them in the end. It didn't really matter.
I'm just still amazed by the Honey Badger reposition, moving so aggressively right up into the face of a team and denying really any movement, and the rest of his team being so far back to have covering firing lines and just providing overwatch support in any of his movements. That's the second time we've seen the Gas Cans do this. They did it to shoot to kill, I believe, on Erangel yesterday as well. This looks like it's starting to be a little trump card that they can pull out, throw down, and say, okay, we got faith in Honey Badger to sit there and take a firefight extremely close range against multiple opponents, and they walk away with point after point due to it. So I just love everything that I saw from that. Oath's movement in there, Gas Can's aggressions, just phenomenal play coming out from everybody. But I know for the fact we're having fun breaking it down. The analyst desk is going to have an absolute blast. So we're going to go ahead and throw it over them. We'll see you guys back in game number 2 in just a second.
Gas Cans did have the trump card with the push, and Voxic was biding his time, trying to wait and maybe get a snipe at the end, but it didn't pan out. We'll see how it goes. Before we do that, guys, I know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for the code. So I'm going to give you the code first. Let's do it right now. 2VBK4TCBDTSU. Just like PCS2, you guys can also get a free voting coupon while watching PCS3 live broadcast. Go to the add bonus / gift code section in the game to redeem these codes. They are very limited, so act fast, and you can only get 1 redemption per account. So, you know, be aware of that. Have fun. Go out and get your skins. All right. Talk about that game. So, yes, there was some very cool plays by the Gas Cans. Before we get into those, I'm going to start with you, Poro, because you and I, we were on the same wavelength about a certain team today, and they win game 1.
They definitely did. Definitely got to give props to Oath where they're due. And Oath, you know, not necessarily an Oath circle, but military is about as close as it's going to get without landing right on Milta Power. They play the way they normally do. They come in through Novo, take over that southern side of the hill, and I'm just happy that they were able to get as many kills as they were able to, because, you know, given the shifts, they were kind of getting pushed away from that southern hillside, and there was so many fighting going on the southern coast that they weren't getting involved in. I was kind of worried that maybe the points were going to go away, but they end up coming in the clutch anyway.
They did. They did a great play. We'll talk about it more and see the end of that, because that fight with Duel could have gone a different way with that seat swap from Wooly. That could have changed things. But let's watch back on the game, Clover, as it's highlight time.
It's highlights time, and you know what? This early fight on with shoot to kill and tact 8, a little exciting, a little heartbreaking as well, as we were able to see them get a couple of points. We're thinking, all right, this might be the time for shoot to kill, make the redemption play. We see the kill feed really lighting up, and just as soon as it did, unfortunately, they fell there to Houston. So, but here you go, Oath, this great position in the South. We saw so many teams fighting for that position as well, and right now sitting on 2 kills, but like you guys said, they were able to finish out strong here.
Yeah, phenomenal job by them, and then I mean, fantastic job by Gascans as well. I mean, they're third-partying this fight in particular, and there's the push that you're talking about. And if you don't think that Honey Badger timed this exactly with the blue pushing in to make sure that even if he does go down here, he gets credit for those 2 kills, you're absolutely crazy. Voxic has so much faith in his teammate to be able to make that push, and Honey Badger has faith in his teammates to be able to back him up. So fantastic work from Gascans on that one. And you know, but at the end of the day, gotta give it credit where credit is due. Oath with the big dub.
I mean, it was in its own way, it was kind of a tale of 2 styles of play, right, Clover? Like, you had Oath, which got the circle, and they effectively managed their area, and they fought off intrusions, whereas the Gascans, who ended up, I think, at 2nd place there, they had to play aggressive. They made this very smart play with sort of that push forward. Voxic just hung out in the back and waited, and honestly, there was a moment where I thought they might win this thing until Oath got 3 reses.
I mean, you could argue both of our military, forward teams did really fantastic for this match. That was a military circle, but like Poro said, I mean, I think that Gascans really made moves at the perfect time, waiting, playing not only with the zone, but with the teams around them. And that allotted them quite a few kills and good control on the western side of the circle. But Oath, same time, I mean, you don't get 13 kills in a chicken dinner without putting yourselves in the right positions.
Speaking of chicken dinners, let's see who took that chicken dinner officially as we look at the match leaderboard. Who came out with the big point total? Obviously, it is going to be Oath. 13 kills and a chicken dinner equal 23 points. That's what you need for trying to catch the Sonics, Poro.
Absolutely. And, we haven't gotten a chance to really talk about them just yet because we've been talking so much about Oath and Gascans. But Duel, another great job getting to that late game. But, I mean, look, 1 kill. I mean, it's like Duel's getting compound cursed all the time right now. Yesterday, I mean, I feel like out of 4 games, 3 of the time they got compounds that fell into the circle very, very late, but they just weren't able to get the points off of it. So, I mean, Duel is getting this great position. I'd love to see them try to be able to branch out a little bit more, try to get some more of those kill points and see if they can climb a little bit higher, but they're doing awesome right now.
Well, we got ATC in 3rd place, 7 kills, 5 of those went to Sharpshot, who seems at this point like maybe he's wearing a maraca-shaped backpack.
It's like you read my mind. Seeing ATC in the top 3, seeing those kills pop off, this is really what we've been missing from this squad, who seemingly has not been giving us a mirror of that group stage performance here in the Grand Finals. Sharpshot looked great, and ATC had a lot to put up with that push from Honey Badger at the late game. Sharpshot ultimately getting the trade, taking care of that situation, but to see them here with 11 points, I'm hoping they take this momentum through the rest of today, because I want to see them grow. I want to see them play as good as I've seen them obviously in the group stages.
Let's take a look at the kill leaders and the damage leaders. Poro, I'll turn it over to you as we kind of run through these.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're seeing those 2 flashing thumbs up from Honey Badger up in your top 5. Getting kind of used to it, man. Getting kind of used to seeing this team up there. And, I know I was talking kind of a big game about these guys coming into the Grand Finals, saying that there's a very good chance that they could make a run for it if they get some circles to go their way. And I mean, even I gotta say, I'm surprised at how well they're doing. Despite thinking that they would do well.
Let's take a look at the damage chart, see if it holds up as we go over to there. Clover seems pretty in sync, and once again, the double thumbs up, because Honey Badger seems unstoppable.
Yeah, double thumbs up, the double gas cans, and even the double Oath. All of these guys put in work throughout the entire match today, and it shows here with the damage as well. So, really we can't say enough about Honey Badger and just the performance, the growth that he's had as a player in terms of PCS3 coming into this. And gas cans are definitely exciting, and I think have a chance to continue this run for the top.
Well, let's take a look at what we all know matters most, and that is the overall leaderboard. I'll hand it to you, Poro, to kick us off on this one.
There you go. We now have 3 teams that have broken that 100-point barrier, almost 4. Duel, just 1 point away. But, I mean, still, look, Sonics, obviously, they're the problem, right? We looked at them. We saw Sonics had not their best game ever, but they still managed to get 6 points out of it, right? In game number 1, they managed to keep 2 up till very late. They managed to collect a few kills along the way as well. So, this is kind of where they're at right now. This is what they need to be doing, just coasting, make sure that they don't string a whole bunch of bad games together. So right now, they had 6 points in this first game. I expect them to come in this next game and probably get, double digits.
On the converse of that, Clover, to maybe get Poro in some hot water about a joke we made in the green room, we thought Shoot to Kill was coming in as ST50K, but they're starting to look like ST6K. What is happening?
A series of unfortunate events. I think that you could really deep dive and spend an entire episode, we'll just of a show even talking about what we can or can't expect from Shoot to Kill. I think the potential is there. I think things just keep not going their way in the early game, and I want to see it. I think you give a team any bit of room to grow, any bit of room to frag out, it's going to be that. I mean, they had a 13 kill game yesterday, so if we can maybe see a couple more instances of that, maybe they won't be shoot to 6K anymore.
I would like to see them shoot to at least 3rd place. So we'll see if that happens. Now, you guys, if you want to do a little shooting of your own, I've got good news. It is time, because there is a place. It is hidden among the clouds. It's a mysterious and treacherous plateau of Paramo, home to untold secrets and a very active volcano. This small-scale map will be a true game changer with dynamic lava flows and locations that change every time you drop in. PUBG Season 9 is available now. It is Drassel approved. #Discover Paramo. Check it out. All right, so that is actually it's a good chance to go shoot your shot, have a little bit of fun. I've enjoyed the map. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's very chill. I don't want to say chill. It's active, but it's small. It's different. I dig it.
It's got volcano.
Okay.
Yeah,
it
it's
does.
a little chill in the lab.
Lava.
Let's dig into SDK a little bit more. We touched on them, and this is a reality. So, Poro, we'll go to you here. The bread and butter of SDK has always been win when you should and get points when you can, right? The sort of like, let's average this 6K and then bolster that with big wins. In the last game, they went out in 14th with 4 kills. Theoretically, that's right on drive with what their bread and butter looks like. But is that okay when you're in 8th place on the second half of a series?
It's not okay when you're in 8th place. Furthermore, it's not okay if you're SDK. It's not okay if you're branded as, one of, if not the top team in North America. And I took a lot of flack this past week because I made a suggestion that maybe they looked like they were a little bit burned out. Kurt got into my DMs, of course, and was saying, "Oh, we're not burned out. We just played like S." And that's kind of what they're all saying. So, at this point right now, I think it's all about if you're shoot to kill, just put it down to basics. Get it down to the most simplistic form that you can. Just get from one fight to the next fight. One transition to the next transition. Just focus on the small things and get those small things tacked down before you start thinking about any big picture stuff about how to try to do any big catching up or anything. You string that first fight together with the next fight, then you can start thinking about stringing one win to the next win.
Well, it's time for us to string the desk together with the casters. The big personalities will be calling all of those fights. It is none other than Matchroom and Hypoc as they return for Game 2.
Well, we had ourselves one hell of an interesting start today where we saw, let's be honest, a kind of cruel circle off of the first plane path coming into play, but led for a lot of excitement, specifically towards where we saw a lot of action happening in different sections of those circles. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a little bit more calm of a circle this time around. That just seems to be the nature of the beast. But now, having reflected on that first round, Hypoc, do you have any takeaways that you're seeing inside of it that you're like, this one kind of stuck out to you?
I mean, you say that, I'm looking at the plane path.
I was saving that one. I was giving them an illusion of where we're gonna go because the plane path isn't fun, guys.
It's not great. No, I mean it's always better, I think, to start with. I mean, obviously with the 4 games in the day for the finals, it's a bit weird, but I always like getting the milli circle out of the way first. Just because, I mean, you're absolutely right. There is that kind of chaos factor, and although that was a fairly placid milli game, if anything, especially through circles 1 and 2, there wasn't really any huge movements. A couple of people falling in rotation, but we didn't. I mean, the first team out was Zenith, right? And that was a circle 2 was closing in, so It was a very slow starter. This time around, I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't going to be able to get to their drop spots. It is a very, very far south plane from east to west. We'll get a chance to take a look at it in just a second, but that could also create the same effect, Matt. Obviously, when people are kind of thrown a curveball, they can't get to, familiar ground. That's when we see teams crossing paths when they wouldn't usually expect to, having to make a dicey rotation sometimes to even get to a loot spot. And the other thing is, you got to expect that this is going to be more than likely a southern circle again. Maybe not a military base, but I mean, the furthest north we're going to see it is the edge kind of across maybe the tip of Rosok or up to South George.
We're in an area where we're looking at what? Milta, military, maybe Gatka fields are kind of the directions that we're looking at for circles. So it's going to be a little bit hazardous depending, no matter which way that it moves forward here. And just like you were talking about, you can see a couple of shifts now coming into play, a couple of teams now leaning back over towards military base. Shoot to Kill still doing their stretch over towards Georgia Pool. If there's one thing we know about them, they are committed to living that lifestyle. But I think the story is just going to happen based off of where this first circle is going to go. I mean, we've had first military base circle, but have you had second military base circle is the question. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of it, as Western Bridge is going to be the major feature at the center.
It is, and this is, again, in terms of land mass, you've got to say it favors the north, but how many times have we talked about even 50-50s coming back south? So this does depend heavily on the circle 2, more so than the 3 to 4 water shift. This depends more so on circle 2 here. So it's going to be interesting to see how many teams we see commit down to Sosnovka, because I think, was it last week we did see one bounce back to the north, a 50-50 on Sosnovka? I'm pretty sure we had a military last week where we saw one bounce back, but again, this is sometimes a gamble. This is one of those circles that you could say you can't center up. It would be stupid to center up on this one and bank on that positioning, unless you're expecting to play an edge inside circle 4 or 5. But at this point, you've got to bet one side of the water.
And that becomes the big factor. Suddenly, everybody is pretty stressed out about what they're looking at. Even if you're inside the circle, you're like, well, do we want to stay here? If you're on military base circle, like let's say you're Fabled, or let's say you're Comets, which we saw kind of hanging around over that next to that Western Bridge that we saw last round, kind of in a similar position again. You just never feel like your positioning is good in a circle like this because you don't know what's coming next. And it leads into, like you were talking about, Hypok, it's just kind of a gamble. You take your 50-50, you take your coin flip, and you pray that you get the positioning that you really hope that you're going to end up with.
Well, I mean, the one thing we always talk about is that the military circles rely on getting there early, or at least having some options to kind of reposition off that circle too. Because even if this was just a bread and butter Sosnovka circle, you'd still want to be there early, because obviously the west and the east becomes the variable there. It's actually north and south, right? You either have to have a boat, you need to swim, or you need to cross that bridge. And one thing you don't want to be doing is leaving that too late and having to then fight off, not in terms of actually, taking a team fight, but, battling in rotation. You don't want to rotate into a congested area. Obviously, the bridge is a massive bottleneck, and there's always going to be one team that just says, we don't want to drive, we're going to sit here and see what we can get.
Yeah, losing vehicles, having tires popped out, that can be extremely detrimental in a circle like this, because whenever let's say you commit towards the north and then it ends up going south, suddenly you find yourself having to hoof it all the way over there and last one in a military base, just like you were talking about. You don't want to be the last team in a military base because there's nothing left, and you're just going to have to run and gun your whole way through it. To be said, with as much as we see that's still happening on the main island itself, we could see a similar factor when those teams that are trying to shift back over towards that. Almost like an inverse military base circle for the 3 teams that we see presently playing inside that position. Meanwhile, if you're like Illusion right now, you just get to comfortably kind of loot around the quarry position, playing back over towards the west. You know the fact that the fields around you are kind of like a little bit of a buffer zone. Not too many people are really going to be trying to contest for your location. More of them are going to be opting more towards like Comet's position, or maybe back over towards Ferry Pier. Something that's kind of like a neutralized gamble depending on whichever way it goes. We all know that it's going to shift away from the water at some point, but making an early gamble towards something that's kind of close to the water, but also central, might mean that you don't have to move as far. So it's one of the few times we actually see a center position, or I guess a water position, be a little bit larger of a desire for teams, as it looks like Gascan's just going to roll right up on top of Greg's shot. That's going to be a quick down and flush, and like I said, he's got to figure out what he's going to do, but again, nice positioning coming out of the Gascans and early game fights. I love the way that this is kind of making their own meta, and the way that they're trying to find their own way to win this whole thing.
Yeah, and it's obviously been a conscious decision. We heard obviously in I think it was Honey Badger's interview. I'm pretty sure it was what he said. Obviously, they were looking to spice things up early game. They saw that as the biggest opportunity in this lobby. It's not necessarily, teams being sloppy, but maybe some early game complacency from other teams. And it's been interesting to see them run a couple of different setups and a couple of different approaches to finding those early game kill points. We're actually going to see Honey Badger, Nikos, and Voxical pull up onto Glasshouse here. Rip's actually going to get contact at the front door. He's going to slip away up the stairs, take a lot of damage, though.
This is, again, that early game aggression coming up from Gascans. They just had a good awareness on what was going on around them. Know that they already got the numbers advantage. Exeti's on the other side of it. Hell is going for a little bit of a peek. Might be able to spot Nikos out, but it feels like he might have an idea on what's going on. Nice little peek up on there. Neither one gets a lot of damage, but quick spray back and forth between them. Hell is going to go ahead and get the down onto Nikos. Going to buy a little bit more space. Remember, Exeti's holding that other angle back behind, providing a little bit of cover. Whips up on top, but doesn't have a real angle to work with. Good shot's going to come out from Oldless on the other side, and now it's just going to be Rip and Hella trying to figure out how they're going to handle what's going on. Grenade's going to land, not do enough damage off to the side, but Honey Badger comes up big, drops down Hella, and now it's just Rip up on top of everything. He could potentially look down, get a spray back over towards it, but again, it's Honey Badger holding back position. Goes for the spray onto it. Good connection. At least going to try to get the Molotov in there. Did it make it through the window? Can't quite tell. It does look like it did. So might be able to get it down off of, or a flush off of that and pick up a point. But Rip now has given away his position, and numbers advantage is about to start coming up that stairwell. He's going to have to be very careful in how he plays this. As you can see, Throwable starting to rain down up on top of him. Molotov going to buy out a little bit more space on top of this. I like this positioning coming up from Rip, but he just doesn't have much cover to come with. First one's going to step up, gets a little bit of a spray. Bullets aren't going to be enough, though, and there you go. Gascans eliminates Fabled. First team down.
Yeah, just textbook stuff. It's good to see a team say they're going to consciously try and do something, and time again they're finding success doing it. It's a big switch up, to be honest with you, because previous iterations of that roster, if we look as far back as 303, they've tried similar things. Previously PCS2, we saw them going for early 2-2 splits and getting aggressive in terms of positioning, but they were just getting pulled up on and falling apart. So it's been fantastic to see them bring that to PCS3. It's working really well for them.
Both making a little bit of a reposition now back past Zenith. They're going to go ahead and edge their way right back over here towards the northeastern section of the map. Pretty open right now, as kind of what we were alluding to earlier. On the map, it's kind of coastal territories of what everybody's at. Almost all the teams just kind of lined up along the canal, different points, really kind of dips, buildings, anything that's kind of close to position. So a lot of our teams kind of opting more into that strategy, being capable of moving depending on either way that the circle goes, kind of hedging their bets, alluding to what we were talking about beforehand. But it's kind of like had this little bit of a quiet settle down. No teams are really in directed contestation points. Everybody's just kind of waiting for the next 27 seconds. And you can see a lot of these teams kind of prepping for a potential movement that they know that they might have to make.
There's still, a lot of teams are banking on North here. It's only really Gascans and Rumblers that are down. Duel have got a good position just to the south of Zenith here, actually, onto the eastern bridge. So they've got really, really good opportunity to fast rotate across, but you can see the way this lies right now with how many teams are banking on the northern side, and it's gonna pull as far as it possibly could.
What is this, Hypos?
As far as it could. There's one team in Circle 2.
Gascans, that early aggression pays off, but they don't want that location because, let's be real, this is still 3/4 water, really, if you're looking at it. There's that hill that's just going to be west of military base,
God.
That's about it. There's not enough space for 59 people in a circle like this, Hypoc, and it's going to be a race to get to position. You can see comments where it's like, we don't care who's coming behind us, run over, Rumblers making their way back over there as well. Duel, Zenith, Oath, all making a position back over towards this eastern bridge. You can see it's going to be Kickstart just trying to pepper in a couple of shots based off of it. Oath's going to be coming back over towards the eastern point. People in boats already. It's just complete damage control from every team right now.
There is barely 2 kilometers of terrain in this circle map. I'm looking at it now. There's barely 2 kilometers of actual land in this circle. This is Duel and Rumblers over on the east side. Again, I did say Duel were going to have a good opportunity to get across. Rumblers are one of the teams that are already south of the bridge, so already see them getting into it here. Comets elsewhere. They're running to the gas cans. They tried to send it immediately across West Bridge, and gas cans making a fast rotation up to the high ground. Let's put them in a position to stop this, but now, I mean, Comets are just going to bounce back and forth between a couple of teams because Hardshifts have found Lounfall over here. They're going to come up and contest onto the barn. Actually, yeah, Yaxley not going to get any damage through on the doorway there. Maluk finds him on an off angle on the side, but lots of teams just making a mad dash for this right now, Matcham, understandably.
Yeah, I mean, this early fight coming out from them, going to go ahead and shift out Comets. They're going to have to run up the hillside. Just Monty and Leda now left. Luckily, there's nobody back over towards the position. If they can get out of range of Hardships, use a little bit of that hillside, they're going to be able to get that out. There's also an odd setup that's happening back over towards Primora Square. It looks like Illusion and T8 might be bumping into each other. You can see the Oath, Zenith now fighting back over. The bridge over towards the east is a mess right now. We have Oath, T8, Zenith, all fighting outside the blue. Punage is trying to run right now. He's got Nero on no life. He's outside the blue. He might just go down to it, just trying to get his meds up. Nope, he's going to go down off of that one. I mean, we got One Eye Open that's back behind Oath right now, just kind of surveying what's going on. And ATC looks like they might be coming along a similar path.
This is interesting. Kickstart's knocked on the north side of the eastern bridge. He's relaying information that nobody's followed. So Roth actually going to come back across and get this res because Punich is relatively safe. With Oath tied up with One Eye Open, nobody's really going to come across and pressure this. But back over to the west bridge, and SDK did run into Veritas. It's Keenan. I don't know why I said it like that. Keenan actually going to fall on the north side of the bridge. I might start calling him Keenan from now on, Matt. I'm hoping you'll follow suit. But
Keenan finding himself in a little bit of trouble right now. Looks like Luke's just going to go ahead and flush him out. Oath still caught up on the bridge, though, so it looks like Zenith's trying to get away from this. We still have a ton of teams in the blue, 26 seconds before it condenses down. Don't forget that shoot to kill based off positioning a second ago. We're outside in the blue. I mean, it's... I know, guys, there's just stuff happening everywhere because there's nowhere for these guys to go. Everybody is kind of stalled out at every single firefight that's happening in front of them. It's a mess in what's going on. But I mean, whenever you're signing up to play in Battle Royales, whenever you're signing to play PUBG and Esport, this can sometimes happen. And now it's just a matter of, okay, what strategy do you have for a situation like this?
Do you know, I was going to say, thank God that Phase 3 is posted there, because what I was about to say is obviously the next circle could include as much water as it wants. Even if that went central, it was going to create even less space for teams to come in on. So thankful for that Circle 3 shift, but I mean, there's still not. You already said there wasn't enough space for 59. Now there's even less, and we've got 5 teams outside of this already. So lots of teams still need to make their move. And Rumbler's actually now pulling up onto Duel here. You can see McCoy upstairs in the 2-story balk. He's going to try and get some damage. That actually takes a lot of damage from Wooly through the window there. You see STK lighting up the kill feed elsewhere, but staying on board right now. Duel and Rumblers fighting over a pretty good compound down to the south, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you look at compounds, there's not a lot that are in play at this point. Lowe's kind of playing the point man way back in the back to provide a little bit of cover fire for his teammates. Got to be careful, though. There are a couple of stragglers that could be coming from that eastern bridge that could be rolling up back behind them. Slow and steady is the Rumblers' approach right now. It's a pretty good grenade toss. Almost managed to make it inside that window, but harassing just as they can. Waldo not quite finding the angle just yet. Pinta playing a little bit closer towards Rumbler's position, and look, just a quick flood of players running right back into position. Linksy gets a quick peek from that other angle and a flush as well. Gaxi has to kind of pump the brakes onto this. Heal back up. Veritas goes down in a different position inside the map right now, but here comes the push now starting to come out from Rumblers, trying to get a little bit more control over territory. Los, here's kind of what's going on back behind them and doesn't have the capabilities to run in directly. He has to play this one a little bit slower. So with this, Linksy still has control over that one building right next to him, and so Rumblers do manage to have a foothold in one building in this complex, but Duel's holding down all the other ones, and it's just going to be a little bit more hazardous every single time Rumblers tries to stretch out and get more control.
That's actually a knock on to Monharty from the bridge. SDK still on the north side of it. Patron now actually taking too much damage. He's actually going to fall. That'll be One Eye Open down in 14th. SDK now have a big problem ahead of them because I think they've given their position away. The kill feed knowledge is going to go over to Sonics. You can already see Shrimsy holding a pretty good angle on the bridge here. You got Tiggleton and H-Win up to the high ground. I mean, SDK doing the same playing style we talked about previously. They're just looking for kills. They know that they're not going to be able to get into a decent position circle-wise. Already got 6 kills here again, even though it's not what they need. This is good salvage from them.
Yeah, I mean, this is just complete and utter damage control. They've got Sonics that have got a firing lane back over towards them. They might be able to get a little bit of distance if they can make it back around this hillside. Instead, actually opting to lean back over into where the fire is coming from. Sonic Split right now doing a lot of damage back over towards Shoot to Kill's positioning, trying to seat swap around. Good connection from Trims. He's going to go ahead and drop out Civ. New circle does pop pretty centered. Zenith going to go ahead and have good positioning onto this. You can see Shoot to Kill still just doing a lot of damage control based off of positioning. There's no real way to carve a path into this because Dodge is already playing back on the other angle. With the split that we see Sonics have, right now there's nowhere else to go. So Luke says, hey, the blue was tasty before. Let's go ahead and nom on it for a little while longer. Runs back over towards the east to just try to get some form of separation from what's happening in every section of this map.
This is good as well. I think Kurt's actually consciously stayed here to kill Norcus because they ran into ATC early on. Here you go. God. It's going to come straight towards him. Norcus actually, okay, Kurt, thank you. I was going to say, you got to land one of those shots, dude.
It almost feels like this is becoming its own rivalry. We see like Shoot to Kill and ATC.
Yeah, again.
Always fighting, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know if something happened in scrims and they're just mad at each other, but it's just they tend to rotate so similarly, and from a similar starting point, they're always just kind of scrapping at every single step along the way. So with this, you can see that everything's again kind of calmed down for a second. Everybody catching their breath, trying to figure out how they're going to approach this. Is even less territory in play, and so those that were kind of hugging towards the edges, kind of chilling out next to the water, are now going to have to make their path inside the safe zone.
Yeah, Shrimsy actually pulling away from that position over on the north side. Again, they're gonna have the knowledge. Kurt's still on the bridge. They're gonna see it in the kill feed. They know exactly where those shots have come from. They're in audible range, so fully expecting Kurt to maybe get. I mean, if he dips off, he might actually be able to regroup with Luke here, but we're coming in pretty tagged up from the blue. Meanwhile, Illusion, they were the last team to come all the way across from Primorsk. I haven't found a way up just yet.
Well, I think that they might be able to get in the safe zone here. Like, sure, they're not going to be able to move from here into the safe zone afterwards, but they might be able to buy some time.
I'm pretty sure there's only... whether or not it's changed in Erangel 2.0, I'm going to be honest, I have not explored the mountain goat theory over on the edge of Sosnovka, but I'm pretty sure there's only 3 places you can climb up there, and that's not one of them.
Yeah, I think that they're just trying to get inside to see if maybe they can just like maybe hang out in the safe zone for a bit and know the fact that they're kind of just, for lack of a better term, screwed after that. Shoot to Kill still kind of limping around right now as we've got Luke 12 the last one up, but let's be honest, that's a strong last one to have. So Luke does manage to find himself a spot back over towards the east, which is pretty calm right now. Do note back over towards the south of his position, we see Oath running a kind of a 2-1-1, but really it's a 2-2 split based off of position. And look at Light Show finding his way to mount and go up that side right there. So it looks like he might find himself a way to make some type of approach. Well, he had it for a second. But Icy Flex and the rest of the crew do manage to find themselves a path onto the other side. So look at that. We learned something new today, Hypoc.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
To be fair, I didn't know that there was a path there either.
I really didn't. Again, it's been a long time since I've had to rotate to a milli-circle, Matt. So they're proving me wrong. But I mean, they're now faced with the next task, which is closing down this open distance between them and the compound. Yeah, I mean, the one benefit is that actually Wimu and Zelot have actually moved up north all the way to the other side of the road, actually. So leaving Steezy and Lush down here to kind of hold on to the compound for the time being. Zelot and Wimu looking for some ground into the circle. Actually, Voxer going to find Zelot. And that could be, I mean, a little bit of a miscalculation to be honest with you. Again, circle bouncing back towards them. You can't bank on that, but they have a really good opportunity to clear a lot of this space at the south side of the road.
This is
and what's even worse is, Steezy is going to fall in the compound. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay there from Tactical 8, but again, it's very good calling it from this position where I can see the map. So it's a little biased on the information.
Well, speaking of that, we can see that there's a lot of problems for a lot of teams right now. So we have Duel that's no longer inside the safe zone. Rumblers, the last member for Shoot to Kill. We've got Dodge, Sonics back over towards the north. And Illusion and managed to get that nice shot just a second ago, and now trying to capitalize on it. Thinking maybe they can take over this compound that we can see that T8's playing from. A couple of shots do connect back over towards them. You know, the fact that they do have some company based off of this. Those shots from gas cans, I feel like, made this even more problematic for T8 because it looked like they were starting to stretch out, see if maybe they can move closer towards the center and maybe could move away from Illusion's positioning. But losing that member early means the fact that they stopped, and now they're having to contest in a very disadvantaged fight. They've only got 2 members up at the time. It's a little bit problematic. Rumblers do go down as well, often towards the southeast of this position. Sonics still trying to carve themselves a path into the safe zone. Still have to contend with Dodge that's playing back along the hill towards the south and to the east of them. Adam going ahead and sneaking around. Looks like he might be trying to find a little bit of a flank there. Getting a couple of shots back over towards H-Win. Going to drop him as well. This is a little bit problematic because even if Sonics can manage to get some separation away from Dodge on this point, they're still going to have to contest with the Hardships, who have an entirely different firing line directly towards their south. So Sonics now playing in a very dangerous point. Look like they're just going to go ahead and try to opt into sync, and maybe they can send it in, maybe use vehicles to create some type of cover based off of position. But right as soon as they crest this hillside, Hardships are going to have a firing line for them. Question is Hardships watching it close enough? And it looks like maybe not. But then again, Sonic's now starting to look back over towards Dodge's position. They're just kind of dancing around between a lot of very dangerous points.
Yeah, Atron actually, I guess, assumed there was an extra vehicle on the edge there, but he's going to fall to Dodge. Sonics do find a way onto the hillside. You can already see the nades coming down from the hilltop. We did see SDK actually fall on the kill feed elsewhere. Luke 12 obviously getting picked up, but Sonics keep 3 alive for the time being. They're actually in a pretty tough spot here. Gas cans have a little bit of vision onto their position. You can see on the minimap, Hardships have stacked up onto the north side of the hill to try and stop them advancing up any further. But I think if they run uphill here, Gascan's going to have even better vision on them.
Well, circle does shift back over towards the southeast from that point, favoring O's placement right now, as well as Duels. Hardships still have their high ground advantage, but a lot of people trying to cross through. You can see the remnants of Zenith trying to roll back over. They did distract Dodge for just a second whenever we saw that Sonics fight breaking out just a minute ago. So that's how come Sonics had a little bit of an easier pass coming forward. But still, it's going to continue to be a literal uphill battle for them if they try to make this approach. Dodge is starting to flank around the hillside and can come back over towards him at any given second. Tickleton gets dropped real low, but does manage to find himself a touch of cover to play from. Dodge now starting to separate out, seeing if maybe they can get some type of play, but Gas Cans back to the south of their position, now also starting to encroach in, looking like they might be trying to contest back over towards Hardships. This could be very quickly turn into a 4-way fight, as Lamplot is going to connect, get Tiggleton down. Quick flush coming out on that as well. Shrimsy has to drop back down very low on life. Mime in some trouble. You can see not a lot of armor, not a lot of helmets on this team right now, and they are playing from a very dangerous spot. 2 different teams harassing from 2 different angles, and every single time one of them gets a knock, they just keep encroaching a little bit further. You can see Lampalot playing up along that hillside. It's going to be Nikos that's moving in, and finally, Sonics gets put out of their misery as there was nowhere for them to go. Looks like Gas Cans and Dodge might step away from the fight as Hardships are going to look back down towards them. Oath, meanwhile, repositioning much closer towards center, going to try to contest back over towards Zenith's point, and Illusion looking back over towards Duel.
Yeah, Illusion. Let's see. I was going to say, Show looking all the way up here. He needs to worry about this close angle here. Wooly's actually going to find him with the barrel and fully expecting the utility to follow this up here if Duel have anything left, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case for the time being. Penta and Wooly just trying to hold on to the burning UAS. Wooly actually making a push into this smoke here. This is ballsy. Show hears it, and Wooly walks out the other side. He finds him again. Show actually didn't heal off of that, but Top Dog finds both kills onto Duel, and they will fall in 6th place. So interesting. Can you call that a team fight? That was a little weird.
I like the mindset behind it. Duel knew the fact that there was no way for them to move forward. Oath had already contained them based off of point. Illusion back behind them. They knew that they were outnumbered. So instead, just try to make a play off of it, and it almost worked there. I mean, the plan was good. The execution, sometimes it's just too many people that are watching the angle back over for it. So I like the idea behind it, to say nothing else of what happened inside that one. Gas Cans now playing back over, still around Hardships positioning. Dodge creeping along the other side of this hill. And really, that's kind of the setup right now. We've got Hardships that are at the top of the hill. Dodge and Gas Cans still playing around it. And Oath just smack dab in the middle of the circle. So Gas Cans starting to make their encroachment up. Going to spot out one. Good spray going to come down, but it's going to be a quickly exchanged back on the other side. Oldless tries to walk up into the firing line, and J-Sank is just holding the line for his team. Gas Cans gets eliminated. Ton of kills sitting on right now, but That's going to go ahead and send them back to the lobby. Dodge looks like they were trying to creep up back behind this, but it's going to be Oath that's going to rain in a little bit of damage and kind of stop them. New circle has popped, and you can see it's going to be Oath and Illusion that are going to be inside the circle. So Dodge and Hardshift's going to have to make their way down the hill.
And Dodge actually, again, kind of capitalizing on the fact that gas cans were going to be forced into a closer position to Hardshift, but now they're left way out in the open to Oath. You can see how they've stacked up here. Reload kind of playing solo up just a little further west of his teammates, but really good sightlines for Oath here. Again, good opportunity for them to go back to back in the spot that they found. I mean, they should be able to clear pretty much everybody on the north side here. Snake is going to find Danny to open this up. J-Sank actually getting a pick onto Illusion is going to mean Hardshifts are going to favor going that direction as opposed to towards Oath.
Yeah, I mean, Oath just has a little bit of a ridge that they can play, so they're fairly comfortable based off of that. You can see they're going to go ahead and herd Dodge back up that hillside. Going to go ahead and have another member of Dodge go down. Lampalot's following right back behind the trail of Hardshifts as they're kind of shifting back along on that angle. J-Sank under a little bit of fire right now, but still just trying to make his way forward. Relo also going for a very aggressive reposition back over towards it. Good shot's going to come out for Lampalot. Go ahead and take down, you can see J-Sank there, but leaving Maluk all by his lonesome. Illusion's now getting a little bit of a firing line back up that hillside, going to go ahead and connect onto it. So it's very quickly looking like it's a lineup where we can see Oath that's going to hold back over towards the northeast, and it's going to be Illusion back down towards the southwest with a solo Maluk just hanging out in the middle, just kind of chilling inside the smoke and hoping the fact that he's got enough to last out what's coming.
Woe doesn't have any kits. I'm hoping one of his teammates is going to bail him out there, although they were in the blue a while. Maluk actually going to pop out from his position, did have to relocate a little bit, and he does fall, but Oath definitely... I mean, more control here in terms of space itself. Lightshow actually, how has Lightshow managed to cross the road?
He almost
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say the same thing.
Really well timed by him, but it's unfortunate he gets spotted at the last second. Circle does favor Oath again here, so just their ability to spread here is going to be the key factor. And again, I guess you could say Illusion's med situation not helping probably.
Yeah, Snaker's going to head and repositioning pretty close back down towards the south, actually leaving the safe zone to deny a new angle of approach. Illusion, the only team that's going to have to move. Oath is in a comfortable spot right now. They've got so many defendable points, and it's really just a tree line for defense coming up from Illusion. I saw the fact that they had a vehicle, but let's be honest, this close range, that's essentially a death trap, but there's not a lot of good options. You can see the terrain in front of Illusion right now. It's just wide out and in the open. It's just using tree lines to try to deny vision. Maybe Illusion can get a knock based off of the split that we can kind of see that Oath is holding down. That might provide them a touch of an opportunity, but you can see that's why they're kind of focusing back up towards Relo's position. They think maybe if they get a knock on there, that might be the angle that they can push from. But as more and more of them focus back up towards Relo, you can see Snakers keeps kind of leaning back over towards that angle, creeping up just a little bit more, seeing if maybe he can find some way to make this work out for him. You got to give it to Illusion, though. They're doing a great job of dodging all of these bullets that are raining back down towards them. The problem is now it's time to go. They've got the blue right at their back. They're seriously just having to fight against the wall itself right now. And Snakers is moving more and more aggressive. There goes the grenade. No. The blue's going to go ahead and drop two of them. It's just Icy Flex, and he says, nah, I'm just going to feed this one over. I'm not going to give it to Oath. And that's going to go ahead and move Oath into second place with 8 kills.
Yep, really going back to back here on the Erangel games. Really good start to the day for them. I mean, yeah, moving into second place, but solidifying their position. There's now a little bit of a gap forming between, I'd say the top 3 and everything below. Initially, it was Sonics that were, 45 odd points ahead at the start of the day. That gap is closing.
Yeah, I mean, that was just masterfully played coming up from Oath. I know the analyst desk is going to be very happy about that. They had a lot of predictions. They're sticking their guns on Oath, and that last round is a great example of why. You can see that the way that they just took a stranglehold of that last circle was just so well done. And let's be real, it's kind of oddly poetic that the blue zone ended up being what kind of undoes Illusion there, given the fact that it was the circles that kind of undid everybody else beforehand.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a hell of a journey coming in over on the west side. You got to argue probably one of the last teams to make it across. But that situation with Tactical 8, the way it played out, again, similar situation. You know, if Tactical 8 didn't take the casualties they did, they would have had the same access to that area. So, real shame there. But you know, Illusion coming in and capitalizing on that, to be honest.
Okay, guys, it's almost code time. We're getting ready to throw it back over towards the analyst desk, so get set and ready. I know Toffees likes to throw them to you very early, so Toffees, go ahead and give us our code.
Congratulations, Oath. Here's your code. 5PM7DAZYQ7B7. Just like PCS2, you can get a free voting coupon on live broadcast for PCS3. Redeem it in the ad bonus / gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge. Codes are very limited, so act now. And remember, only one redemption per account. All right, let's get into talking about that match. Oath, it's magic as they come out with a big win. I want to say that we willed them to this. I'm going to go straight to Poro again. I'm sorry, Clover. You picked a different team.
Okay.
You picked the Sonics, okay? So this is the Oath Festival for Poro. Festival!
Look, hey, we're feeling great. I mean, back-to-back wins. Fantastic way to start the day. Obviously, you know, 2 military circles back-to-back. That's not doing very many teams favors here, but Oath managing to capitalize off of it. So you got to give them props where credit's due.
Not too bad. Clover, what take me? Actually, let's run highlights and walk me through sort of your big takeaway from this game. It was wild, weird circles, bridge camps, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, this was a circle that really, I guess I'd say a game in which each and every circle kind of had us really excited. There was that really hard shift towards the water that all three of us kind of screamed when we saw it. We even heard Matrim and Hypot kind of react. That is a hard circle to play, and it made the area hard for these teams to play off as well. Last game, military circle, we talked a lot about Oath, but we also talked a lot about gas cans and their positioning throughout the game. And in this match, it is exactly that same story. Gas cans in those really great early positions here as we see that fight that Fable.
Highlights.
Oh yeah, highlights. We need more energy on that, right? Yeah.
Get in there.
Continue. I'm sorry. I just wanted to whisper it.
Oh, but I mean, gas cans were just as equally an exciting team to watch this game. And Poro, I know that you also had some interesting things that you wanted to talk about with them as well. But
better be interesting, Poro.
Yeah, well, we'll move past one eye here. It's unfortunate. I mean, look, a lot of teams were in a bad way because unlike game 1 where everybody was certain that this thing was going military, this was game 2. It was 50-50. You saw everybody just hugging the coastline on the mainland, just hugging those esports spawns, waiting to see where it was going to go. And then we got that crazy shift all the way down to the south. Shoot to kill, we said that we want to see them just kind of go fight to fight, try to get their points where they can. They did exactly that. This is 2 circles that definitely do not favor them in any way whatsoever. So the fact that they were able to collect as many kill points off of that speaks volumes to their motivation going forward in this. But yeah, talking about gas cans, they are not afraid to push anybody early on. They are not scared of Fable. They knew exactly who that was in that compound, and they just 4-man crashed it, tried to get their points early. And when, we saw them make it to the late game with a lot of kills and actually climbing that leaderboard even more. So, while Oath is winning 2 in a row, the secondary winner in the meanwhile really has been gas cans.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard for that match and see exactly how the points fell out here. Clover, why don't you walk me through this one?
I mean, just as Poro said, Oath and gas cans really coming out on top once again for this match. But, I need to give a bit of a shout out to Illusion, right? They were able to play that through the late game. Obviously, trapped across the street, weren't able to get across, gave themselves up to the zone. But before they did that, 7 kills. That's really something to be proud of for them. It's great to see them once again. I mean, if you get this team up in the late game, they find ways to stay alive. Houston really needed some points, and they found it here. But I want to talk about Dodge and Duel just a little bit, too, because I think that these are teams that we don't often give enough credit, and in the overall leaderboard, we're seeing them at the top, and it's because they're able to put in work each and every match.
Yeah, I mean, Poro, Duel's, I think it's Dodge. Dodge is a team that has been getting a little bit of flack, especially through the group stages, that they win when they should, but they can't make, something out of nothing. It seems like that's changed around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, going back to whenever we were kind of doing our prep work for the grand finals, and it's specifically when I was kind of talking with Cameron and HiPod, kind of doing that video that we did, kind of setting up for everything. When we came to Dodge, everybody just kind of looked at each other and we're like, well, you know, it feels like a lot of the points that they got were kind of through just good circle luck and kind of capitalizing off of that. And we, you know, we didn't really give them too much credit for what they did in the group stage. Now that they're in the finals, I feel like the way they've gone about playing in this grand finals is better than what they did in the group stages. The points that they're getting here are well earned. And, you know, I guess we can't really sleep on them anymore. Adam and the boys are getting things done.
Stepping it up. So take a look at the kills top 5. Voxic, the protector of Honey Badger, steps up with 4 kills, and Saint Malouk from the Hardships gets 3. Clover, I think a lot of that came down to they were able to get Hilltop, and they held it well, and they executed from a very difficult to defend position.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? They fought for that cross rounds position first. They moved up to Hilltop. And the thing that was really interesting that we were watching is that they also gave up Hilltop pretty early, right? They pushed a bit further west. That's a notoriously difficult position to hold. And they were still able to get quite a bit done from there. Of course, we're seeing 4 kills to Voxic, though. I think it's a little funny you call him the defender of Honey Badger because he did let Rip get that Molotov onto him. So, I mean, you know.
The man doesn't carry a fire extinguisher. He protects with lead. Let's take a look at the damage totals. Relo 555. My boy getting himself a nice little win up there. J-Sank showing up. Poro, I've been a big fan of J-Sank for a long time since the MPL. He's such a chill dude. He's got a good attitude. I'm just happy to see Hardships on these 2 boards. It just makes me happy.
Absolutely. And, you know, the only thing I could say is I wish we could see him up here more often. You know, it's, you know, we've seen the Hardships kind of struggle in this grand finals, and, you know, it kind of goes back to group stages, right? We saw really, really good performances one week, and then the next week it was just kind of nothing. So hopefully they can... it feels weird saying this at the end of an entire year with this roster playing together, but hopefully they can get things figured out going forward. I don't know. If you haven't gotten it figured out by now, I don't know what to say. But I also want to give a shout out to Icy Flex. You know, we've been given a lot of credit, or I personally have been given a lot of credit to Light Show for Illusion's kind of resurgence. But Icy Flex has been right there with him, man, and he's been improving dramatically throughout this phase as well.
He's been a cold strength on the team. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard, see where everyone stands. Sonics is still the lead at 154, but Oath and the Gas Cans continue the chase. And when today started, Clover, I was skeptical about who catches the Sonics. I'm not as stressed out as I was earlier.
No, I mean, I think you guys definitely hedged your bets when you picked Oath as the person that could come out on top. And right now we see that this is a really great start for them. It's what you want to see when we're just past the halfway point. But I think the big problem for Oath is that between them and Gas Cans, they've kind of been fighting each other a bit as well for some of those points in the late game. So as you can see, they're kind of neck and neck. It'll be interesting to see if one of them can perhaps pull ahead as we move on to Miramar today.
Toffees, did she just say that we were taking the safe bet with Oath?
Wait.
Meanwhile, she picked Sonics.
Yeah.
Are we getting a little revisionist history here?
I mean, I think that
Hedged your bets by picking Oath.
I just think if you guys were to pick somebody to take on Sonics, obviously, as we're seeing right now, Oath was definitely a good team to do that. But I mean, you know, my pick's in first place. My pick's still putting down some points. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the Sonics boys are going to put down some big points games.
Well, I think we have a second for the next match. So let's talk about something that players wouldn't pick, and is that first circle. That first circle was a 50-50 military north split. I mean, how do you play that, Poor? Like, is there a right way to sort of play that kind of circle?
I mean, it's what we saw is basically all you're pretty much able to do, right? And you saw the teams that kind of landed on that coastline defended those esports boat spawns to the death. Nobody really wanting to make the hard commit of pushing over just yet. Well, I mean, at Circle 2 Pop, I think we only had 2, maybe 3 teams that had already gone over to Military Island. Everybody else just hanging around on the coastline or right above that. And that's another thing that you kind of got to give credit to Oath and Illusion for, is the fact that they were one of the ones that were waiting. Like, they were far, far north here. They weren't on the coastline. They didn't have an immediate safe rotation over to Military Island, but they still managed to get there. And, You know, if you go back to the game, I think we were giggling a little bit because you saw all 4 of Illusion kind of swimming around the coastline there on the cliffs. But you know what? I guess it ended up paying out with after they made landfall and won that great fight against T8.
Earlier on in our segment, real quick, you said something called, you said in this circle, the teams are hugging esports spawns. Clover, can you just, it's kind of an industry term for those of us who are maybe new to the tournament. What's an esports spawn?
Yeah, so an esports spawn is just a dedicated location where you absolutely know that vehicle's going to be there. Unlike in pubs and esports, you're guaranteed that something's going to be there. In this case, it's going to be boats. And so teams are playing those positions smart because they know, unlike in a pub, there is going to be that resource there to get me across the water.
Nice. Well, 2 resources that I can guarantee are going to be here to get us through the next match. The first Miramar match of the day are our casters. It is Matchroom and Hypoc with the call.
Okay, now shifting away from Erangel, making our way over towards Miramar. Hypoc, much smaller chance of an island this time around, so the player should be pretty happy.
I mean, we haven't talked about the Hypoc curse in a few weeks now, but I mean, 2 for 2 on Erangel isn't a great start. It definitely doesn't make me excited. Well, actually, it does make me very excited about Miramar.
Yes,
because the bad circles on Miramar are actually more fun to watch than Erangel.
Ooh, that's a hot take right there. I don't like. I guess it is. There's a certain formula that comes into playing around military. The formula kind of goes out the window on Miramar just due to the nature of the beast and how the circles can be set up and how many little hidey holes there are.
Well, there are as well, and we get these really interesting fights where teams opt to rotate on foot, and it just becomes this kind of brawl on the edge. Whereas with military, you can discount a lot of that because of the rotation factor, because you have to cross that water. It's either a bridge, a boat trip, or the same way the mountain goat approach that we saw Illusion employ. It's just some weird setups to get into position for those circles. So. That's the only reason I say on Miramar it usually comes down to some team fights as opposed to, the rotation being a factor.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out. I do know that a couple of people I saw inside of chat, I know that there is the 10-minute delay. The reason Illusion is LLR is because it's for, I believe, Long Live Ranger, one of their players that has passed away. So if you keep looking at that and can't understand what's going on, and I think I saw several times people are like, what is the R for in Illusion? That's what it's for, guys. So where you can kind of be in the loop. I know that's something that kind of happened before the grand finals, so I just wanted to reiterate that to everybody that might be slightly confused, as now we make our way over towards the sandy and very, very brown Miramar, as it looks like, hopefully, we might get another circle. By our curse powers combined, Hypoc, maybe we'll get something spicy.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty heavily western plain, so there definitely is a possibility for it. We'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, again, similar situation with the Southern Plain on Erangel on their second game. There's going to be some teams that can't get to their hometown or to familiar looting ground at least. So eyes are going to be towards potentially some overlaps. There's going to be too many, but northeast side of the map is not necessarily a very congested area early on Miramar, especially in this lobby, but I'm really expecting too much. I'm seeing a couple of teams gravitate towards Leonis, and not really too surprising there with what teams it is, but doesn't look like we're going to have any overlaps on that side. And elsewhere, actually looking pretty clear. Everybody's going to be able to get themselves some breathing space initially.
So here's the question, Hypoc. We've been seeing a lot of islands. Are we going to potentially see a prison island, Los Higos, with this plane path?
I mean, I've only ever seen one, and it was in a screen. So
I don't think that I know that they've happened in competitive PUBG across the world, but I don't think that we've seen a specific one in there in North America before, which I would love to see. Doesn't matter. We're going to go El Pozo, your old home territory, so I'll let you kind of break down what we're about to look at.
Well, the important stuff here is obviously, and again, you can treat this one, the early positioning is the biggest factor here. There's a lot of terrain that becomes, untraversable, if I can make up a word for us right now, Matt. But obviously getting to this circle early is crucial. Does depend heavily on where circle 2 goes, because there's a couple of spots of that unplayable terrain that we talk about that we know always becomes a factor. So looking for lots of teams to try and center up on this one. Anybody that hasn't got an opportunity to really get some decent positioning, I'm going to look for obviously those wide wraps that we talk about, where teams obviously opt to try and get into the least congested side of the circle, which here really with the plane going south to north makes it very difficult, because it only really leaves the eastern side that's going to be kind of open, and anything that really centers up, you've got the problems of getting across power grid, getting through San Martin. Those are all things that you don't want to have to deal with in circle 2, especially if time's not in your favor.
You can see a couple of teams right now. We just saw Shoot to Kill just a second ago. Finally not having to traverse the entirety of the world to be inside the circle. Most of their players inside this very first circle, as we can see it lined up. Duel's in a little bit of an interesting spot, and that's why our observers are showing you right now. They're running a 2-2 split, but they have a little bit of T8 that might be encroaching in between them. I doubt T8's going to go back down that direction. It's not really their looting patterns, but this is our furthest team that's going to have to traverse this time around, as Duel's been, again, just very consistent with finding ways to get into late game strong circle positions. It's kind of their recipe for success. We were kind of talking about gas cans, early skirmishes, get points every single time you see something move. Duel tends to be a little bit more like you were talking about before we started the first round, a little bit more methodical in their approach into the circles.
Yeah, do indeed. As actually seeing Dodge light up the kill feed, and that is a fight for dead center in this. We've seen Veritas make it here early before on a similar circle last week, and actually D-Treat's going to fall straight away. Jazz is still down, but this is an interesting move from Dodge. Getting away from Pozo this quickly is actually huge for them, and they're going to get the upper hand in this fight. Keenan, though, actually going to find Danny a little bit overzealous with the jump through the doorway into the stable here. This whole time, I think the res is actually coming across in the long build, and Keenan's got mountains of work to do here if he wants to stop this push. And
oh no, gas cans rolling up right back behind it. They want to get involved in what's going on. We told you guys these guys like to scrap. Keenan's going to go ahead and have to drop down. Not a lot of reinforcements for him at the time. Michael just narrowly makes it around that hillside, or building, I'm sorry about that, but Oldest is going to have a little bit of an angle to play and kind of puts a stop to the fight that's going on. Grenade's going to land from Danny G. I almost said Kenny G there for some reason. That's going to be Kenan that goes down inside of this, so it's starting to turn up a little bit more favored back over towards the original defenders. Veritas still on the hunt right now, just kind of chasing after Finna, trying to see if maybe he can get one more kill on top of this one. Goes around, tries to peek back around on the angle, is at least going to get that one more out of it. Going to step up and go ahead and get that flush very quickly. You can see the gas can starting to flank back around, but ATC also looking like they might start to advance along this position.
I mean, really, this is the byproduct of what I was talking about. Getting to this early and getting not necessarily dead center. I mean, I'm surprised to really see a team full fighting over this for Circle 1. But Gascan's pulling up to third party this. Again, we talked about this in the previous map. Straight away, they peel away from this. This early aggression, the way they're looking to capitalize on, not necessarily complacency, but this situation awareness is huge from Gascans. And again, it's so good to be able to mention something and have so many examples of which to talk about it, because this, again, we don't see teams doing this, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we talked about the fact that Gascans is a run and gun team, but there's a strategy to their madness and how they bring it forward. They're not just W-keying everything that moves around them. You can see this. They heard the firefight, quickly moved over there, got involved whenever they realized, okay, it might be a little bit too risky to make the push towards Dodge's position. Instead, retreated back away from point. Speaking of retreating, looks like see Duel trying to crest back down this hillside, get a little bit more distance from T8. We saw them a little while ago. The rest of Duel actually starting to come back along this angle, saying if maybe they might need to provide a little bit of reconnaissance for what's happening up on top of this hill. May have to find that T8 might find themselves in a little bit of a rough spot due to their positioning right now. And yep, Willie's going to go ahead and find Zealot real quickly, get the shots back over towards him. Now it's a little bit more problematic as Steezy is going to be back down that hillside, not capable of providing a lot of real firing cover just due to the nature of this hillside. If this grenade connects, it's just going to be on Steezy to have to run, and that looks like a real good toss. Just a little bit short based off of positioning. They do get the res up, but now if they can make it back down that hillside, Steezy can provide a little bit of cover, but Willie is just going to continue to keep raining in grenade and grenade. So that means it's also going to be cherry picking that one up. And Steezy, it's time to go, buddy.
Yeah, really good stuff from Duel here. Again, this is leading on from, I mean, Duel dropping so split. Tactical 8, one of the teams that kind of dropped down to the south side of Leonis, and I mean, really just getting caught off guard. But this spread from Duel has been really fantastic to kind of punish Tactical 8. CZ is going to make it away, so Duel probably not going to get the 4th kill point on the board, but a good start for them nonetheless. Back over, I mean, we have lots of teams in close proximity. We're at the 7-minute mark, and there's really only 2 full teams now. Duel and 1 Open, they're outside. Everybody else, you've got to say, is in the central 30 to 40% of this circle now. And again, fully expecting that, with this being the sort of circle you want to get to early.
Yeah, you were talking about that beforehand. You were like, position is key in this. I mean, this is your home ground territory. That's why I was letting you talk about it.
This is worse than
exactly
I thought it would be.
Everybody's already hanging out. It's just like the only dot towards the center is just going to be the crater, and everybody is just all around the positioning towards the center, stretching back down towards the south. The north, almost entirely open. Same can be said for the west, and really to the southeast as well. It's just really illusion. Not illusion, sorry about that. 1 Open, and it's going to be Duel that are not inside the safe zone yet, as well as STZB, last one up for T8, that might stop along that point, but everybody else is very centered right now. So if we see a hard shift away from a central position, we could see some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, because there's only one team north of Pozo right now, and that's Illusion. Everybody else is south of Pozo. If you were to draw a line across horizontally on this map, which is crazy to me. There's so much congestion down towards the power grid, everything west of that, down towards Monte Nuevo. It's going to be pretty crazy if we don't see a central circle. And I guess unless this goes hard south, really, it's going to be wild. But 1 Open do make it in on the east side. That was what I was saying. The least congested side here. Oath has got themselves a decent spot up on power grid. We know that they like to play this area on a circle like this. They tend to slowly move through the terrain to the west of here, and actually the circle does pop all the way up. I'm sure we'll be able to take a quick look at it in a second. But it did pull all the way to the northeast, which actually centers up just north of Fabled's position. So lots of teams now need to get into this circle. But the problem being, look at what they have to come through. You don't want to drive through that valley. You do not want to go down that road that ATC are holding. You then don't want to go on the road that comes directly east out of Pozo. So look for a lot of teams to try and wrap here.
I mean, Crater Fields is also its own set of problems. So, you either play it super brave and a little stupid and just gun it down the road and hope that there aren't people already stacked up there. But let's be honest, 55 alive, you got to assume there's going to be. Or like you're talking about, long wraps all the way back up next to La Cabrera, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of teams opt into that positioning. Specifically, we're also going to see a lot of high ground advantages coming into play. There are a lot of mountains that are really going to define movement capabilities for a couple of these teams, and teams already in position. There's a little bit of a mess going on just around Shoot to Kill's position back over towards the south, as ATC is going to be running right by Fabled. A couple of shots going to go through. Oath is going to be around along this position as well. Following up back behind this, it's going to be Sonic's, Gas Cans, and going to be Dodge that's also coming up back behind them. All of them already inside the safe zone, but none of them happy based off the positioning. Teams that are opting really far and that long wrap over towards the north looks like it's going to be Zenith, Hardships, and potentially Comets. So a couple of these teams moving very early, while they're going to be very close to other teams, are at least going to find themselves a little bit of a dip like ATC has to at least get themselves a touch of breathing room.
Yes, I'm just taking a look at the map now. Obviously, I know aren't going to be too many teams sending it towards each other. SDK did set up that split. You can see it on the mini-map here. 2 up on the high ground, Luke and Halo, and then Unsilver and Kurt down at the compound in the roadside. Luke actually going to find Aguila at distance there. He's one of the players playing on the high ground, but I mean, this is the situation I was about to bring up. Hardships running into Zenith. But the problem is Comets are over west of this as well. So if this fight actually breaks out here, I mean, looks like Zenith are going to prioritize just moving straight in, not going to try and gatekeep Hardships. But this forces the Hardships off to the north. They don't want to trail Zenith in rotation. I mean, if Comets don't have a good read on this, they could be the ones that run into it. But hold that thought for the time being. Sonic's 4-man push onto the 2-man from Dodger. That nade rolls right into the front room.
They all just leaned up against that wall. They're all stacked up inside there. You can see starting to retreat out going, hey, maybe 4 of us in this room is a little bit of a bad idea. Throwable's now going to start coming out from the Sonics to force Lampalot back onto a different angle. Looks back down. Good shot, but a good toss coming out from Mime. That was beautifully cooked to go ahead and drop Lampalot. Now it's just going to be Adam playing right back behind that touch of a crate there. See if maybe he has a firing line back over towards it. Instead, just going to decline to try to get information and see if maybe he can just listen for the pitter-patter of footsteps around him and use that to try to find his firing angle. But looks like Sonics already have a good idea on where he's going to be at. Starting to make a little bit of a play based off. You can see Throwable starting to rain down next to Adam. That one not cooked just enough. Gets a little bit of damage off. Gonna have to be careful in how he plays this. Gets a little bit more space on the other side of it. Looks like Tig has a pretty good idea what's going on. Spots out the feet. Goes ahead and goes for the spray. And now you can see them kind of surveying what's going on. Danny G was up at the top of that one. Not going to be too happy. Gas cans trying to third party yet again. A couple of bullets from Tickleton are going to force him back behind that hillside. Looks like we might go ahead and slow down for just a second as the new circle has popped. And let's go ahead and hard shift in a different direction. Make our way back over towards the west this time.
God.
Go ahead, Color. Break down what's about to happen because it's about to be chaos.
I'll tell you what's about to happen is we have two areas that are unplayable. Well, what's considered unplayable in this, and the number of possible circles coming out of this is not pretty. It's not pretty at all. The other thing is a lot of teams over-rotating on that previous circle. Now you can see how much space there is and how many teams there are now outside the new circle. So that position we just saw, Sonic's in pretty good spot, but it is next to that area I was talking about. There's a large amount of unplayable terrain there. So got to expect the circle to shift away with that with phase 4. Zenith currently running the gauntlet through that 2-2 split from STK that they're still holding on to right now. So
well navigated.
Yeah,
they managed to avoid a lot of that. I mean, there was good firing lines for shoot to kill. ATC going to go ahead and roll back over next to Fabled. I was going to go ahead and try to line up some shots, but Sharp Shot just spins that one back around on her. That one hurt a little bit. Hexete, looks like Rip also looking back over towards that angle. Orcus did go down, but should be a quick res onto that. Sharp Shot going to be the point man onto it. Zenith looks like they're going to go ahead and hold down the complex just on the other side of the road as a quick rush in coming out from Fabled. Quick exchange back and forth between that one, and a Sharp Shot does go down while he was looking to try to flush out. There's going to be Hella on top of this one, so now a little bit more problematic for ATC as they just have themselves a little bit of a dip, but Zenith says, hey, there's a party, and I don't think that anybody invited us. We're going to go ahead and try to pick up a couple of points for ourselves. Zenith starting to make a little bit of a flank around the side of this, and Fabled in a bad spot, and let's be honest, ATC's in a bad spot, but with the push coming out the way it has, we haven't seen a full commit coming up from Zenith, so this is really just 3 duos just trying to fight it out, and Zenith goes, okay, maybe that's a bit too much, retreats away from it.
Yes. Interesting decision there. Obviously, ATC managing to get back up to 2 on their feet as well. Leaves kind of a 2v2 situation over the concrete here between them and Fabled, and I mean, Zenith really just going to try and wait on it. Norcus actually landed a good nade upstairs. Rip going to fall. I think we're going to see the push out. Actually, the second one comes in. 2 great nades from Norcus there. Fabled will fall in 13th place. And Zenith now, I guess, going to opt to coexist a little bit. I'm looking at the map. I think this has to come hard east. I'm pretty sure it has to go hard east. So this is definitely a priority area of the map. Actually, Oath, we're sending it straight down towards that compound as well, Matt. Look.
It's just everybody wants to be a part of what's happening here because I think that they have the same read that you've got going on. Any trolls in chat now eliminated, going down in 12th, and Oath just comes in and just takes this one with dominance. Zenith now have to be a little bit more hesitant having Oath on the other side of this. Rumblers now coming up back behind Zenith as well, playing closer towards the hillside. We do have a small fight that's been going on between, looks like Duel and Gas Cans. As you know what, we just need more hard shifts in our life. Where are we going this time, Hypoc? Let's just go ahead and cut up towards the north. So now this fight that's happening over here has to end real fast.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an ugly rotation for anybody that has to come up this hillside. I mean, STK, you can see on the map, they're in a great position. This fight with Duel and Gas Cans down here on the southern tip of the Pozo Mountain, so to say, I mean, kind of just this is trash time now. I mean, get these kill points, get out of there, because you got a lot of ground to cover to get into the next one.
Yeah, Duel's trying to get some damage control, but Gas Cans are going to just be like, nah, good connection on that grenade. Going to go ahead and send. I just love watching bodies roll down the hillside. I don't know why. It just makes me happy. Bat Caps does go down, but looks like should be a quick res coming back over for this. Keep in mind, while this has been a highly contested compound, it's not inside the circle. So both these teams now going to have to get a little bit of separation and make their way back over towards the hillside. at least towards the west. Rumbler's going ahead and opting into moving right now. Looks like Zenith going to go ahead and do the same thing. It's allowing Pat Caps to get rezzed, and it looks like it's just going to be tailing back behind them. But that's kind of its own problem for Oath, is now they're just going to be kind of taking the scraps of whatever's left of the other teams that have moved in front of them. See a little bit of a position coming up from One Eye Open, as they are now starting to look back over about what's going on next. And then you can see Rumblers did move into this position. Shoot to Kill was kind of holding down the fort, but instead opts to play a little bit closer towards Cinder, surrendering that little bit of an edge, not wanting to get caught up in the skirmishes that are happening in this point. Rumblers have been having to contest with One Eye Open, so it looks like they're trying to get a little bit more of an aggressive positioning back along that line. Los looking back over towards that angle, creeping down along the low ground point for it. McCoy looks like he's got himself a vehicle. He's just going to go ahead and reconnect with the rest. But Los could find himself an amazing flank from this, depending on how the angles play out.
Yeah, is that you're going to... I mean, getting a position like this isn't necessarily the worst thing in a circle like this, because, I mean, ultimately, further on from here, not really going to have the opportunity to find too many kill points. So Rumbler's in a good spot now, I mean, as well, to get some damage onto SDK. Potentially, if they can clean that fire up. I think One Eye Open are maybe going to opt to send it down into the crater itself, but elsewhere, Zenith finally getting caught out. Bell landed some nice mini shots. Zenith will go down to 2 now.
Yeah, vehicle flipped over onto its side. It's always problematic, and especially in terrain like this, because you can just see how vertical it is as One Eye Open just goes rolling back down the hillside behind this. Couple of shots coming out from SDK over towards the Rumblers, going to connect with Waldo as well. I guess the most contested point that we're looking at right now is still just back over towards the east, where we see Shoot to Kill, Oath, going to be Rumblers, One Eye Open finally getting some distance and getting kind of a little bit of control over towards the north. There's a little bit of a potential for a skirmish back over towards the south, but really it's just high ground advantage, just decimating people that are trying to move through these low ground points and trying to make their way inside the circle. Oath does have themselves a little bit of a point that they can play, but you can see it's kind of a dip back over next to where Shoot to Kill and Rumblers have a little bit of a sight line, but it's at least safe enough for the time being. With the way circles have been going right now, Lord only knows where we're going next. I mean, at any given point, we could be going north, we could be going south. Who even knows from here on out? But Zenith is still making the gamble back over towards center, and it is going to pay off for him. So that fight that we saw kind of percolating for a little while back over towards the east and back over towards the south could both pop off at any given second, as Sonic's going to look like they're trying to move back over towards Gas Cans, who managed to get themselves a crate.
Yeah, and now, I mean, Rumbler's previously okay position is now pretty awful, to be honest with you, because SDK in a good position to hold them. But not only that, Oath just down off the minimap, slightly southwest of Rumbler's position, and Oath can sit there for a long time. Meanwhile, actually, Sonic's and the Gas Cans get into it. Honey Badger will be the first to fall here. Sonic's still got 4 up, H will find the second. Voxic down now as well. So Sonic's looking to get some of these kill points, and that's going to give them a little bit of space on the map as well, Matt.
Yeah, this is just a good play coming up from Sonics, running 2 on the high ground and 2 in the low ground, and just really finds the angle to do a ton of work back over towards the Gas Cans from fairly defended positions on top of that. So the reward for this is Sonics is going to go ahead and get a lot of control back over towards the south. Really, not a lot of teams to really contest with. Comet's going to be the closest one to this. But back over towards the east, it's still going to be Oath, Rumblers, and Shoot to Kill trying to vie for some type of positioning. Shoot to Kill do have 2 of their members inside the safe zone, and Oath is really close to it, but they don't want to make their way up the hillside. Waldo just running right up into Oath's positioning, trying to get as close as possible. Going to find himself a nice little angle to work with, but has to be very careful of throwables. McCoy's still playing the high ground way back behind this, and there you go. It's going to be a nice little shift back down that hillside, and you can see it's going to be Snakers just lining that up, along with Balefrost just going to go ahead and tear into Rumblers, denying that movement. So now Rumblers looking back up the hillside, now going to have to contest with Shoot to Kill in a very fortified position. Going to go ahead and lose McCoy as well. Lowe still having to contest back behind him. You can see it has enemies at every single angle and still just trying to fight his way out of it. He knows that he's got a Trek in front of him and might just opt into surrendering this to the blue zone. I don't know. That just doesn't feel like Lowe's style. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to try to go for one in this somehow, some way. You can see him metting up. But this is the fight right now. If he can manage to get any work off on anything that's happening, maybe we might see this kind of stall out and give Los the opportunity. But yeah, I think he's just going to have to surrender this one. We know Los wants to fight it, but let's be real. There's just not options to be had here.
Yeah, and the timing actually of Oath pulling away there could be beneficial for the Sonics, to be honest with you, because, I mean, Oath still have an uphill battle, no pun intended, to get away from this position. If Sonics can kind of get control of that ridge, Oath are in a pretty tricky spot, actually. They're not going to be able to advance much further up. There is another shack, but the fact that they've parked their vehicles here, they run the risk of Sonics punishing them. Yeah, you see Snake is going to fall initially. Good shots from Shrimsy coming out there, and STK going to open up now as well, get involved in this fight. Oath could fall here.
Yeah, 3 good firing lines coming out. Shoot to Kill can kind of harass Sonics, but they're really more caught up in what's going on with Oath right now. They know Oath is in the very, very disadvantaged position for their high ground, trying to make sure to deny anything while still taking a couple shots back over towards Sonics to keep them from peeking back over onto this angle. Should be noted, Shoot to Kill can't move from this point. Good shot, gonna go ahead and connect, coming out onto Luke 12 from Mime. But while this is going on, One Eye Open hears this, knows that they're in a little bit of trouble as well, trying to creep up back behind what's going on.
No.
Gonna catch out Purdy Curdy. Good shots coming out from that one. All of these teams now going to have to move, and Sonic's trying to use that opportunity. Civ goes down as well. Good placement coming out from One Eye Open right now. Mon Hardy still playing back around the low ground. Alo spots him out, tries to go for the spray back over to it. Does connect. Takes him down. Winlow starting to play along the low ground. I don't know if Alo has the angle to work with. Got to be careful of those throwable. It is just him and Luke 12 playing back around onto this. But look at how he's clinging to this cliffside. He's trying to make sure that he goes for every single peek he can. But now it is just down to Luke peeking up back behind this angle, getting the spray back over towards Winlow, and does manage to take down One Eye Open. But there was a big cost for it. And man, that blue's coming in. Luke, I don't know. This might be a little bit of a dangerous commitment to try to get this res.
It could be indeed, but I mean, at this point, it's going to be the point denial, to be quite honest. Reload, the last man standing from Oath, he has managed to make it into the east side of this new circle, but again, depending on where STK go, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for them. Reload's going to find that, actually. Zenith getting all the way up on top of the rock here. Actually, a pretty good spot.
Dare you to find us. Creep up behind us. I dare you.
With this ending, that is actually a nut spot.
I mean, it is ridiculously strong. Pretty close to center. Should be noted, Shoot to Kill did manage to get the res up, did manage to get to a vehicle, but this is what I was more concerned with. They still have to try to make their way inside the safe zone, and Zenith's high ground is just... it's so strong. Luke's going to hop back in the vehicle and see if maybe he can get away from this one. Good shot's going to go ahead and connect again from Mime. Going ahead and connect back over towards Zenith, but it's going to be Sonics to go ahead and finish that one off, taking down Shoot to Kill in 6th position. Sonics now going to start to make a little bit of an advancement back over towards the center themselves, as we have Sonics back over towards the center, Zenith in the high ground. It's going to be Illusion playing pretty close to them, kind of at the foothills from their point. Hard shifts to the west of that, and Comets still in a very comfortable complex.
He's looking on this circle coming in. Loeb's actually landing some really good shots up onto Poonage there, hoping we're going to be able to get that res off, because we've already talked about how good their spot is up on top of the rocks there. Actually, Loeb's giving his position away there. Top Dog and Woe are going to come over and try and force him off of this angle at least. Maybe not going to overcommit to it, but again, that new circle posting, I hate to bang on about it now, but Zenith are the kings of the hill. They have complete oversight from that rock into the entirety of this new circle. So really good opportunity for this duo to clutch up is Shimboy and Poonage. Sonic's down on the south side. They're probably going to wait for Comets to come out of the compound. I do have a crate down. Actually, H1 and Tiggleton opted not to go. Oh, yeah, it's just on the side of the hill. Yeah, that's a moody crate. I'm sure you understand that reference. Most of the chat won't, but that's definitely a moody crate.
That's an old reference coming out there. Zenith having a little bit of attention woes right now. While they have themselves a strong point, they've been harassing a lot, and you can see every single team going for any peak that they can. Comets Monty going to go ahead and hop on the bike, roll right along on this point. Good positioning if he can manage to establish it, and yes, does manage to get a little bit of a read ahead of the Sonics, who look like they were kind of eyeing that point. The rest of the team now probably going to be the rest of the Comets trying to creep up back behind this. Hard shifts, though, starting to slowly encroach back up, right up next to Illusion's positioning. I do like the point where we can see Light Show is kind of playing from. The problem with it is he doesn't have a lot of angles to really look at the approach coming through. They're kind of banking on allowing Zenith to protect them. And whenever these vehicles, specifically these motorcycles, just zipping up the hillside, it's not giving Zenith a lot of time to react.
Now, I'm going to plant a seed here. That bait with the bike from Monty might actually be the game-winning play. If Comets can hold on to this position now, hold that thought for the time being. Hardshift's actually coming all the way onto the top of Illusion here. Chuba going to fall initially. Top Dog landing the headshot with the M4. And Zenith now peeking over the top. They know this push is coming through. They now have a really good opportunity to shut down Hardshift. Poonage gets J-Sang down. Loeb's trying to tuck himself underneath him, but they will fall. Hardshift's out in 5th place now. Zenith getting more value from this high ground position.
They've got 7 kills. They're running a little bit low on ammo, as you can see. That's a little bit of the downside of positioning. You don't really get to pick up any of the loot for any of the kills or any of the harassment that you have. You got great positioning. Now it's just more kind of like attrition. They need to make sure to make every single bullet count. Sonic's now starting to creep back over towards the east as everybody is in the northern part of the circle. It does shift a little bit back down towards the south. Sonic's still going to be in a good spot, as well as Comets. It's really going to be Illusion having to move, and Illusion in a little bit of trouble here as grenades are going to rain down right next to them. We got to play this a little bit more carefully. Sonic's still just trying to make sure that they maintain firing lines back over towards Zenith. Illusion's still just trying to creep back over through this angle right now. Comets do have a nice little bit of a split down below them, but it's kind of becoming a separated fight. This high ground where we can see Zenith becoming a big factor inside of it, allowing teams to get much closer to each other and just kind of peek back over different sides of this hill to take a couple of pot shots at each other.
And definitely got to be selective here with where they want to shoot towards. And I'm worried, really, if they try and take another fight in this, they're not going to have anything for the end game at all. So
I'm more concerned that the circle is they're right on the edge of this zone.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to move, and it's going to be a dangerous drop.
I mean, they should have been, with Mime and H-Wing coming all the way over to the east, that kind of stops them from punishing onto Tickleton and Shrimsy inside. So they are opting to push towards Illusion instead.
Yeah, I mean, I like
to get any more here, but
see if maybe they can take a couple of shots. Illusion is going to have to move back along that angle. Zenith still has their high ground for now. Good shot's going to connect onto it. Looking back over, see if he can get a second one. There we go. That's Shinboy showing up for him. Trying to get the taps in. Make sure to collect every single point they can. Now dropping down to 50 bullets. Poonage does go down. Got to be a little bit careful off of that one. Lightshow still just holding up by himself. Comets try to step up into it, and Lada's going to regret that decision. Show still got his back against that wall, trying to lay down for as long as he can. Comets still just playing down a low ground point. The whole time this is going on, though, Sonics are just moving into control points to just dominate the circle as these fights end up. It's just a spattering of damaged people clinging to this hillside right now, and Sonics moving into aggressive positioning to catch them as they have to move.
Yeah, that's it. Shinboy still able to get a lot of damage onto Comets here. And just like that, Sonics will push up. They will clean it up. 8 kills in the chicken dinner here. You see some slow positioning through that phase 7. Allows them to take complete control and again stop a lot of that pressure from Zenith from that high ground position. There was one factor I was hoping there was going to become the game-winning moment there with that little bait from Monty running the bike outside just to get that knock onto H-Win. Really, really good stuff there. And I mean, they did have to commit over to the west to clean that up because they would have had this really, really messy engagement on the edge of those rocks, which is never a good fight to take. It just becomes a battle of head peaks. But unfortunate there for Comets, but getting through to 3rd place, only 2 kills on the board, but a better performance from them today.
Just to give everybody a quick breakdown of what happened. So Sonics had the low ground positioning, circle started to shift, there was just kind of remnants over where, remember, Zenith already had one of their members down. There was a quick shot back over there to take them down. They go down in 4th. Comets goes down in 3rd, and it's actually going to be Lightshow who buys his team 2nd place, just holding down a strong defense based off of point, and naturally Sonics that did walk away with the win. It was just a quick tap, tap, tap as everybody got line of sight onto each other, and it was just over in a second. I mean, we went from 4 teams up to no teams up in a victor, and probably the span of 2 seconds there. So I know sometimes that can happen inside a Battle Royale. Just wanted to break it down for you guys, but there was a lot inside of that game. So guys, go ahead. Get your game open, get ready, because I know Toffees and crew is sitting with a code, and we're going to go ahead and pass it over to them. Good luck to everyone involved.
Hey, y'all. I got a code for you. Get ready. 4L2CAEDL5X6F. Just like PCS2, you can get a free voting coupon while watching PCS3 live broadcasts. Redeem on the ad bonus / gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge. And remember, they are limited, so act fast, and only one redemption per PUBG account. Make sure they're all connected so you can play too. All right, guys, my name is Tapi. I'm joined by Clover and Porosaurus as we get back into the game. Oath did not win this one. Sonics did. So Clover gets first talkies.
You know what? Sonics, guys. Sonics? No, I'm just kidding. All right. You know, we were talking a bit between the break. Poro, I know that you said you were really looking forward to Sonics putting down another double-digit kills, good game. And we looked at that. That was a good one. Now, the thing about Sonics for this match, we'll get into that when we get into our beautiful, glorious highlight reel, was all the amount of fighting that they had to do on that west side. You heard it there at the end with Matcher and the positions they were taking up, but with all of those fights, they managed to stay 4 up in the late game, which really put them in a fantastic position to play that. We could see early on, right, these fights with Dodge, they had fights with gas cans, fights even with Oath. There were so many teams that they found themselves at trying to battle out for the South, and it's one of the reasons that I was a little bit worried at first. You know, are they going to be able to come out on top? But they played it well.
Yeah, they absolutely did, coming from that south side. And look, you know, for a while there, it looked like gas cans were going to be in a great position to do a little gatekeeping, but we see what happened there as Sonics just cleans them up here. And, you know, SGK, despite the fact that they end up going out here and losing a couple to this unexpected fight against One Eye Open, they still go out in 6th with 9 kills. So, you know, comparatively to what's been going on for them, that's a pretty good finish. And speaking of pretty good finishes, look at your boys, the Mountain Goats, the Billy Goats, Shinboy and Poonage, the youngsters. They managed to get a 4th place spot and 10 kills for the effort there.
Playing up top, doing a great job. And I will say, we'll touch on this SDK thing because we were hard on them last time. They got 7 kills in the last one. They got 9 in this one, like you said. So they are trending upwards. Is it too late? That's what we're here to find out. So hopefully they keep the climb going. Let's take a look at the match leaderboard to see the points and how they broke down in that one, Clover.
Lots of really good kills for a lot of great teams. Obviously, Sonics on top in terms of points placement, helping out with the Big Ten, but Zenith getting 10 kills for that match, in part to that wonderful location that the guys had at the end on that rock. But you know what? Shoot to kill here in 3rd. As you heard Poro say, 9 kills is going to help them out. And although they went out a little bit early, this is kind of starting to be that glimmer that we've really been looking for. We just need to see more matches like this from them.
Speaking of not just shoot to kill, but once again, you get a 2nd game in a row with Illusion up in your top 5. So another team there that maybe had some expectations put on them coming in and putting together a good performance here. Comets as well on the left side of the leaderboard. And, you know, we got to touch back to gas cans again. Yep. Not the best game for them, but still 6 kills, 6 points in the bag.
They went out in 10th place, and they still managed to put 6 points on the board. And I think that's the big one for me, Clover. When you look at the Guadalajara gas cans, they are a team on the up, right? So when you see them have games where they can still put 6 in the hopper, that's pretty encouraging. Let's take a look at the overall kill counts as we continue to talk.
Yeah, there you go. Luke, 12 with 6 kills. You loving to see shoot to kill back up onto these top lists. But Poonage, once again, still putting in work for Zenith along with Shimbo. We talked about that nasty rock. I know that the casters really enjoyed casting that location. And you know, we've seen Zenith play these high positions before. Even when those circles can go to the east, there's a big flat top just above Impala, a place that we oftentimes will see Zenith try to hold in those mid to late games. But speaking of mid to late game, Light Show up late again, doing 4 kills, great for his team. And of course, Tiggleton. I mean, you can't go wrong there.
It's the youth, Poro. Poonage and Shinboy, they like climbing trees. They like getting to high places. You and I are worried if we tried, we'd slip and break a hip. These guys, they're not scared of going up there. Let's take a look at the damage and see how much damage I guarantee Shin and Poonage are going to show up there. Thank God I was right.
Oh, there they are. And, you know, and Tig once again adding almost 1,000 damage to his total there as well. So, you know, like Chloe was saying, I was kind of calling for it that Sonics weren't going to have a full day where they just kind of sit on their heels or sit on their hands or anything. So they only got 10 points through the first 2 games. First game on Miramar, they turn things around. They get that big dub and kind of increase their lead here again you know, you still got to worry about Oath and Gas Cans coming up from behind there, but Sonics, I think, putting themselves, giving them a little bit of a nice cushion again.
Well, you know what time it is. If I had a drum roll sound bar, I'd do it for the overall leaderboard, but I guess all I'll use is my duster for my keyboard. Here it is. Yes! 172 points for Sonics as they continue to show domination. Oath and Guadalajara Gas Cans are 1-2 punching their way up there, Clover, as this is the second game that's finished where they're literally chasing within 1 point of each other.
I mean, these two teams are going to be biting at each other's heels. In fact, these three teams found themselves once again fighting close range. And I think that that's kind of been maybe a little bit of a dictator on some of these leaderboards. The fact that you have Oath, Guadalajara, and Sonics getting into battle with each other early on. You know, they're not fighting their own guys, finding each other at the late game. It's early. It's nasty. And at least in this case, Sonics came out on top. So it's got to be a little bit frustrating, especially if you're Oath and Guadalajara kind of running into the people that you're trying to catch up to.
I also, Poor, want to take a second to give a shout out to Illusion. I don't know if everybody noticed at home, but Woe was playing with them for the last 2 games. He's their coach. Free Me Please will be coming back in for the last match, but again, coach stepping in to fill in obviously what had to have been sort of some connection situation or whatever it was, and they're still getting like second place finishes. So that's a big move. They're stepping up.
Yeah, and look, hey man, I love Woe. You know, me and Woe, we go back to MPL days. We're good buddies, but they're definitely going to be better off with Free Me Please in the lineup. But you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. Illusion has been able to put together a couple of pretty good games here, and hopefully, you know, that's the way we were looking for the same thing from SDK, right? String a couple of good fights together, turn that into a couple of good games. That's where Illusion's at right now. That's where SDK is kind of at right now. So maybe things might be turning around here in the second half.
Any other teams that you've seen, Clover, that have look like they're turning it around or have really stepped up?
I think Duel,
for you as you watch?
You know, Duel's still finding themselves into fights on the early mid game. They're able to get a couple points, sometimes even staying late. I know we've thrown around the term compound curse just a little bit, but regardless, they're able to do something each and every game. And so I'm kind of excited to see what they can do. But, you know, just as we talk about with Gas Cans and Oath fighting each other, you've also got Duel and Dodge in a similar position. So it's going to be interesting going into this last match.
Just as an update, because I didn't say exactly what it was, our King admin, Jay Bowler, has told me that it was internet issues for Free Me Please. So he's stabilized. He's back. They're back in the game. And hey, that's the reality. We live in a, you know, post-COVID world. We're all adjusting, and sometimes that means that you have to deal with wonky internets wherever you are. There's too many of those kids doing homework at the same time. All right. That said, let's head over to the two guys who've done their homework, know how the teams play, and are ready for the call on our last match of the night. It's time to get down and dirty in the desert with Matchroom and Hypoc. Beans.
I was doing good, and then the random
Still
beans
nothing.
came through.
Still nothing on the beans bit. There's
Okay, so Prophet Hypoc. You've been calling so many things before they happen as we've been moving through here. What do we got our eye on moving into this last game? I mean, we're about to be 2/3 the way through everything. We're on Miramar. You've been calling good circles. Give it to me. What's happening, man?
Just quickly, I thought you were going to say, because you've been predicting things so well, tell me why he's talking about beans. Because I think it's possibly like a British cuisine reference, but we'll shrug that off.
It's the Breakfast of Champions, right?
Exactly. No, coming into this last one, I mean, we've had a really, really good set of games so far today. Erangel circles aside, I think we've had a couple of games that haven't necessarily played out as vanilla as some of the other games we've seen in PCS3 in North America. It's good to still see Gas Cans kind of following that trend, which we've already talked about a couple of times this evening. Expecting that to be a factor again in the final game, because now that they've found some success on the day, again, that conversation we had about momentum at the start of the night, that now becomes part of their decision-making process. So definitely looking for them to go out and find something early on. You know, Sonic's bouncing back a little bit, if you can say bouncing back from the top of the table, but they've now pulled it back to a little bit more of a lead, which, again, if we're going to talk momentum, that now gives them a bit of breathing space. They can flex out a little bit, maybe take some more risk, because we know Sonics are a team that if they lose one player, they're not likely to turtle. They'll still play the game as if they're 4 up. So there's a couple of things I'm going to have my eye on. The one thing I'm noticing right now is we haven't got a funky play in the last game, Matson.
Well, okay, look. You say that like the interesting circles were happening. I find them fun circles. And I know the players don't agree, but I know I am an agent of chaos. I like to see rough circles because I love to see the way that these players handle them. I think that's one of the great things that you can take away and apply into your own game. Like, okay, whenever the circle's set up like this, that last game, a prime example showing locations on how Zenith manages to traverse up into a great position. I mean, we even learned something in the round before this on how you can make your way up on a specific path on the military base island. So these are the takeaways that I love to see. So, but let's be real, we're kind of due for a central circle. I'm kind of feeling one could be coming around here in a second.
We are. I mean, all those things, that's what I talk about when we see kind of the vanilla play of rotate, fight, and, you know, seeing these teams in weird spots. And, you know, Illusion, like we said, the team that traversed the cliff over on the south side of Sosnovka, actually making it to second place. Those are kind of interesting storylines to follow through the game, as opposed to, you know, team rotates circle one and they end up where the game's going to finish. But we are definitely due a central circle.
Look at that. I threw a double negative at it. See,
rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
El Pozo on that plane path. That is, whew, hard. Houston Hardships, live up to your name. You are inside the hard-shifted circle right now. As well as, let's see, we got Rumblers, Veritas, Sonics, ATC, Shoot to Kill, kind of, and Relo from Oath. Everybody else, especially we've got a lot of Los Leones teams. Enjoy driving for a bit, because you're going to have to figure out how fast you want to loot and how fast you want to get in the circle. Hi, Poc. You've explained how to handle this circle beforehand and how early movement is important. Would you like to give us a recap?
Well, you know, I talked about last map of, again, similar circle to this one, and obviously previously the plane path was horizontal across. Now with this being obviously from north to south, it doesn't create that kind of congestion over on the north and south side. There's now a lot of space available for these teams to wrap, which again, we have the same obstacles this time around. You have that high ground around Crater Fields, everything east of Pozo. Those are areas that, you know, there's going to be a few, I said this in game 3, there's going to be a few teams that desperately try and center up on this one. This time around it's going to be much more difficult because you're having to drive through teams to get to that central position. Unless you're Veritas hard shifts, I can always see them making moves on the map already, but lots of these teams that previously opted to center up on a similar circle, they've got way more obstacles in their way this time around. So again, expect to see a lot of teams looking to wrap, try and get into the least congested part of circle 1, and then kind of leapfrog, scout their way in. But the problem
Just
being
as
anybody,
I was going to say, we have 2 teams that are already opting into doing that. Way to the north, it's going to be Dodge and Gas Cans making a little bit of a play. Gas Cans, we've seen kind of be the early aggressors, this time going for a very northern position, which is more of a structural change for them. Usually they'll kind of be involved in what's going on. But unfortunately for Dodge, you're the only team around, and Gas Cans has seen you. So let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Honey Badger's obviously caught sight of this, but Lampalot and Finna still over in Torre and Campo Militar. So Danny G and Adam, obviously Dodge, usually we would expect them over in Pozo, as the previous game showed us. Veritas actually as well, just to make a footnote, we'd said in the previous game we've seen them dive that barn compound very early on. Again, we're before the 4-minute mark. Keenan has already found his way over to the barn outside Pozo. So it's again a similar pattern for some of these teams that, like I said, they haven't got a wrap. They can get quick access to this circle. You're going to expect them to see in the spots that they would usually play. Other teams, like, you know, a couple of teams out on the east side, I mean, Gas Cans, Dodge, Zenith, are all teams now that aren't going to be able to repeat that process from game 3.
A lot of the teams are still leaning back down towards the southern positioning, away from El Pozo and the craters themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of teams that maybe kind of ended up in a good position, seeing if maybe they can end up around that. Let's be real. We don't know how the circle is going to go and how similar it's going to be to the last one, just due to the nature of hard shift upon hard shift, and not even similarly directed hard shifts in the last round. So while we do have a similar first circle, that doesn't say anything about where we can be going from here.
No, it doesn't. And then the other thing to consider as well with that is everybody's going to have that previous game in their mind.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a tendency to not want to over-rotate. I'm expecting a little bit of congestion around power grid, maybe up kind of northwest of San Martin, up towards the plane crash. Maybe some teams just getting into Circle 1 and saying, we're going to see where this one goes. Because we saw how many teams committed to center, and that first shift away, Circle 2, obviously that first shift away from the center just created madness for these teams trying to find space.
We got a lot of teams that did opt into early movement, but also a couple of them that are kind of tailing back behind this. You can see the Fabled, One Eye Open, Houston Hardshift's just starting their rotation, actually opting more towards Chumacera, seeing if maybe it might be a southern shift. That would be very favorable for them if it does end up going that way.
Good luck
Duel
with that
still
one.
outside the circle. Yeah, with the way that these circles have been going and the way that they like to just bounce along this outer rim, who knows? I mean, maybe it's like 200 IQ, maybe it's just a gamble. We'll have to see. T8, not inside the circle yet, and only 2 members from Dodge still. Gas cans have made their way all the way back over towards the west, kind of along that trailer park El Pozo line right now. ATC do have themselves a very centered location, with the closest centered team to them going to be Veritas.
Yeah, Veritas obviously this time around not having that, I guess, pressure from Dodge over at their compound. As they're going to maintain this 2-2 split across the road, as you can see now on the left side of the screen with the map up. STK actually getting over onto the east side of Pozo, and we know that Dodge was split in rotation. It's just off screen, but the other 2 members of Dodge are actually up north of Cobra. You can just see their name tags entering the picture now. So going to be interesting if Dodge try and pressure STK away from coming into Pozo. But with Alo and Luke up on the high ground to the east, I don't expect Kurt and Uncivil to want to push in any further. Just coming down south to Pozo, you got Hardships, Gas Cans, and Illusion.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Gas Cans is still stretching back down past El Pozo. They're continuing. We talk about the fact these guys like to fight, and it looks like they're still just trying to listen in for any firefight that they can get involved in. Looks like they could be bumping into Illusion, but it's overall a pretty quiet circle right now. Everybody's kind of calm and just trying to get a feel for what's happening around them after having to make a very long rotation into point.
Yes, I mean, lots more teams have actually, again, not as heavy a stack towards the center as Game 3, but lots of teams managing to find their way in here. Gascan's actually getting up onto Free Me Please inside this compound here, and they're actually going to find him straight away.
It's just such a good double peak right there. Man.
It is, yeah, really, really clean.
That's like one of the things that we see Gas Cans execute so well. It's not just mindlessly running around. They've been on the hunt. They've been paying attention to what's going on. They're listening for who's shooting at them. And they're kind of like using themselves as bait sometimes whenever they can't find that third party. And the way that they execute building breaches right now is just so dominant.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is the risk, really, if you're still running a split like this in the circle, and not necessarily a dead center position, but, you know, a team wrapping in, they're going to be coming as 4. And especially when you think about this is maybe the extremity of what's considered the center of the circle. That team coming in as 4, they're going to opt for that crash. They're always going to do that because they, you know, they're out of options. Really, they probably scout that. They see one person, they pull up straight away. So Illusion getting a little bit punished there, but we'll see if they can still maintain over on the west side.
Allow me to kind of sell myself for a second here. If you guys didn't catch the episode of Pull-Ups, we can see Veritas and Sonics are both playing a very similar position as where they were inside that Pull-Ups episode. So if we see a very centered circle come into play, that's going to be a very powerful point for both of those teams. This time, though, look, hey, you know, we were talking about the Hardships that were playing back around next to the south, decided to go back over Monte Nuevo, left the Chumacera. I bet you they're kind of regretting leaving that Chumacera area now. They are going to have Monte Nuevo towards themselves, but northern teams have a lot of fun because that is a clustered northern section of the circle.
Yeah, I guess head back to Tuma. It's more than likely going to end up there. Again, there's lots of teams that are going to have to make moves here, and with everybody kind of gravitating towards the center, a lot of the south side of the previous circle was open. So, Fabled able to make quick moves down to the south. Rumbler's actually able to hold on to a position. Hardshift's able to kind of collapse back to one side of their split. Gas Cans coming down into Monty as well, but a few teams heading up across the power grid plateau. We've got Tactical 8, ATC, and Oath all kind of trailing each other in rotation. And Sonic setting up an ambitious split, I'm going to be honest, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be running through that crossfire that could be potentially set up. Oath are just going to bypass their positioning, shoot to kill. You can see them in the process of just trying to encroach around next to Veritas's location. Not even with all of their members. They still left one back over in El Pozo at the time. You can see T8 cutting along the path. Now, T8, this might not be the pathing that you want to take. First off, you're going to have to contend with a couple of shots coming out from Veritas, and even if you manage to make it through here, Hardships are already going to have a line set up, as well as Gas Cans might be able to take a firing line, and Sonics. So while Zealot did manage to make it through the first part, let's see where his quest continues off to, is still shots going to be raining in from the guys on Veritas. First line's going to make it through. Zealot is going to go ahead and get spotted out from J-Sank and is going to go down. You can see a very quick exchange back and forth back as the approach goes through, and it looks like T8 says, okay, that's not the good angle. Let's cut back over towards the east, and guess what? That's where Sonic's going to be posted at.
Yeah, and I mean, that split looking mighty juicy now. Nobody's really come across the pressure either of those compounds. Veritas still holding on to the red brick here. Shoot to kill obviously getting up in between their split. Could be an issue for them, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't expect SDK to really try and make too many moves here. They're probably going to, from that position, wait out at least. We know how often, obviously, these circles tend to gravitate towards Monty just by pure luck. It's actually pretty surprising. I mean, I'm banking on the Ladriera finish. They're always the most exciting to see, but we'll have to wait and see where we pull towards.
I mean, either that or even going Chumacera. I mean, I'm all about vertical firefight inside of a city. It's always fun. Monte is the center right now, so most of the teams are already in position, taking a couple of shots here and there towards each other, but nothing too detrimental just quite yet. Zenith, the last team that's going to be making their way into the zone, going to go ahead and circle back down, way down next to Chumacera. See, Dodge does have control back over towards the west, really fairly uncontested. They've got the illusion that's back down towards the south of their point that they're playing at right now, but they're using this road as kind of like their own little defensive barricade from everything that's kind of the mess that's happening back over towards the north around Monty, and back over along that I don't even want to say it's necessarily Ladrilla. It's more like to the east of that point, even, where just people are kind of clustered along that hillside.
It is indeed. This one coming down there, we're going to see where we're headed in the next couple of seconds. Again, not too many casualties falling in that, to be honest, and Circle is going to post up, which is why we're seeing Snaker stare at the wall here inside his map, I'm assuming, other than, I guess, admiring the work on that banister. But Circle did post up, just centered up, just south of Montenuevo. So Rumbler's position looking pretty good right now. They're actually going to opt to regroup along to the roadside compound here. A couple of other teams making moves as well.
Gaskin's position is pretty good right now, it feels, as well. The question is, can they defend Montenuevo from the onslaught of teams that might try to spin in there? Looks like Veritas might be the first contender to think to do so. See Sonics holding down their defensive line, ATC creeping up back behind them, but probably not going to encroach all the way into that point. First shot's going to come out from the gas cans, does connect back over towards Michael. You can see the crash does land, and good defensive lineup coming out from the gas cans right now. Keenan's going to be playing along in a lot of very wide open windows. That's why he's going to just kind of lean his back against us. Dietrich does get spotted out as well. A quick exchange coming back all over. This is a very dominant defense coming up from gas cans, and that was very quickly over as they all run over to loot up those tasty, tasty bodies.
Yeah, again, just no fear coming out of the gas cans right now. They're just they're looking so good in these. You got to say scrappy team fights, but it's the kills are in quick succession. They're there, they're stacked up, and you can tell there's a plan. It's not this reactionary, looking for a pick or trying to capitalize on a pick. They're moving kind of with purpose.
Yeah, and that just leads to great communication. In order to execute as quickly as they did to that crash, that they have to be very quickly relaying how they want to approach fights and executing based off of that. I mean, and then there's a little bit of just playing together and having a feel for what the other person's going to do, but it just seems to be like they're so organized in the chaos that they create. It just makes me feel like they just have a good grip on what's happening, and everybody is being able to relay that information. Back over towards the south, you can see that Zenith's starting to make their approach on a very similar line that Oath just passed through. Duel's going to be coming back over towards the west from this point. Looks like Oath is going to continue crest back over, making their way back along the line that Fabled looks like they're holding down. Looks like Zenith is going to be able to get down to that point, and Oath also getting into a point as well. So starting to settle back along this line. Really, it just feels like is Duel going to come in and create any chaos for these guys? They're starting to get a little bit more defended up.
And again, just not taking too many casualties with that circle shift, not too much of a migration, which, you know, it does kind of explain really why we're seeing so many teams stacked up. Nobody really maintaining these splits early on. Everybody trying to hold on to what they've got. And no real ballsy rotations coming out. This next shift, I think, is going to be the one where we maybe see a little more action. I mean, lots of teams stacked up down to the south. Obviously, Fabled up on the hilltop compound. You got Oath down in my least favorite compound in the entire game, but it's actually going to be in the next circle, so I'll eat my words. I hate leaving that too. It's notoriously difficult to leave. That's why it's
surrounded by hilltops, and everybody is just going to murder you if you have to leave. But if Oath doesn't have to leave, you don't have to worry about getting murdered just quite yet. So, leaving Monte Nuevo behind, looks like we're going to see the shift back over towards the east. There is a lot of wide open kind of plains that are going to be back over towards the northern area right now. Shoot to Kill trying to make a pass back over towards it. You can see the T8's kind of got the defensive line set up. Gascan's going to be going and cut it down towards the south along with Rumblers. Don't forget Sonics is in a good position as well, playing in a good point to really harass people that are playing along that very flat positioning. Purdy Curdy's going to go for a peek back over, but Weem's going to go ahead and connect back over towards it as well, get the drop onto him. A couple of shots going back and forth between the two of them. Luke 12 does have himself a nice positioning back behind this, but it's uncivil, playing from that high ground that's getting a lot of work put out. As I say that, though, it's going to be Rumbler's Waldo from really far away. Gets a good sight line back over towards him, does connect, and now Alo finding himself in a little bit of trouble with Luke 12 back behind him, not getting the path that they wanted to take to make it inside the circle.
Yeah, the third party from Rumbler's a good 500 or 600 meters away from the compound. We saw them collapse back toward, I guess collapse away from that split they were holding on to. So SDK down to 2 now. Maybe going to be able to, I was going to say, maybe able to going to find something on the hillside there, but it's definitely not going to be easy for them to sit there. Actually, looks like they're sending it straight towards Oldless, in between Oldless and Sonics, actually, and it literally running the gauntlet right now, as we see Wooly pulling up onto the backside of the hill. Maybe looking for something onto the back of Zenith, who, here we go, is where Luke...
Get to the check! No!
Well, you can see there where they tried to drive through. It was literally through 3 teams.
And look at how open it is. You can't drive through this. It's just a death trap.
Well, like we said, just not many options there.
Shoot to Kill had to send it. So before everybody's just like, oh, why did Shoot to Kill do that? They had nothing they could do. Based off positions from gas cans, rumblers, they couldn't stay at their present point. T8 was already defending up. Sonics was also starting to get into a harass point. They just had to send it through, maybe make it to the shack, and they just could not do it. On the other side of this, though, you can see that it's going to be the hard shifts under a little bit of pressure now as Illusion's starting to stretch their legs back over towards them. Got to be a little bit careful off of it. As you can see, One Eye Open does have an angle to play with. One Eye is going to be coming back over onto an angle with this, as well as Dodge. It's going to be creeping back up along this hillside. Icy Flex does get a spot out, but it's going to be, again, a strong performance coming up from Jason to go ahead and flush that one out, but they need to get this res off fast. Dodge is really running up this hillside. Adam sees the fact that the fight might have ended at this point, so this might slow down Dodge's push.
I like this.
But at any given point, they do have a lot of control in what's happening around this. One Eye Open, who was harassing earlier, going to go ahead and reposition just a little bit. Now has to contend with Fable, allowing this to be a little bit more of an open play. And yeah, Dodge going to go ahead and move from that low ground point, make an advancement up to the side of this, right as soon as you can see Hardships were trying to reposition off of it. A couple shots going to go through, but it's going to be Fable that provides a little bit of defense. Lobes is just clustered down inside of this house with nowhere to go. He knows he's surrounded from this point forward. He's not got a lot of options for himself. Peeks back around, has to be careful. Fable goes ahead and connects on the side of it, but Finn is going to go ahead and eat that one up.
Really good push from Dodge, though. Great use of utility there. You saw the smoke off both of the upstairs windows and then wrap round to the side of the building that had no windows. They couldn't stop that push. And obviously, I mean, J-Sang sending it in the vehicle, leaving Lopes to kind of play spoiler on that situation. It was good to kind of keep one up. But really, really well thought out push from Dodge there to get up onto the backside of that 2-story. So good stuff from them. Again, similar situation to the previous circle. Majority of this is just open terrain. There's a couple of dips, a couple of ridges, but not really any spaces in the center of the circle for a 4-man to play, Matt. So yeah, it's going to be really difficult. We're going to have a lot of fighting down to the south side. Oath now need to come out of that valley compound. Both Zenith and Jewel up on the high ground overlooking that. But again, where do you move to here? You're going to have to take a fight on the edge, and most of the fights on the edge aren't going to result in a position that's in the circle.
Yeah, there's just too many teams that were playing edge on the last one, and this one just shifts in the cruelest of ways to make it to where all those teams along the south, all the way stretching towards the west, are going to have to now, sure, they don't have to move far, but the distance is not the big factor. It's the lack of cover and the amount of teams that are going to have sight lines to work with and really just harass them. It's going to be a lot of third and fourth parties just popping off all over the place. You can see Duel trying to get a little bit more aggressive back over towards Zenith, who does have an inside track. Oath moving around the other side of them towards the west. Relo's kind of looking back and forth between what's happening right now. A couple of good shots are going to connect from Fable to go ahead up towards the north. TAC 8 does go down, trying to encroach in that area that we saw Sonics and Gas Cans really defending beforehand. Zenith now finds themselves in a pincered point, and it looks like Fable wants to go ahead and fourth party back behind Oath. So while Oath does have themselves a little bit of a dip, Snakers does go down. Fable now has a different line sight that they can try to play up on. They can just creep up right back behind this and get the shots right into Oath's backside, and that's forcing them to really fight on two different points. Patcap's now the last one up, and not anywhere for him to really go. He's just kind of watching what's happening back down on this hillside. He's just hoping that maybe Fabled stretches back over towards Zenith's positioning, but it's still a continued fight up along the side of this, popping off between Duel. Finally, we can see a quick exchange as Fable does spot out Patcaps, take him down, and it's still just the high ground fight that's going on. Way over towards the west, there is also still a fight that's going on between Dodge and Gas Cans, but we're going to try to stay on top of this one as Duel is still just trying to press their way forward, finally picking up a kill, and Zenith is just clustered into the hillside, just trying to throw down smoke, seeing if they can buy a little bit more time for themselves.
Yeah, Boo's just going to follow up on his flashbang there. Just get the first one. Unfortunately, can't turn on the second. Penta coming out the better one. He finds the second as well. Kickstart falls. Linksy getting knocked again. And Wooly going to bleed out. So Penta the last man standing, but what an absolute brawl here on the south side. I'm fully expecting this with the setup previously. Penta not out of the woods just yet, though. Here come Fable. They're able to recover from that fight from Oath now. Penta again, can he get anything done? No, he can't. Hella will pick that one up. And Duel will fall in ninth place. So down to our top 8 here. Circle just gravitating towards the Sonics. Again, so much open space in this circle here. You can see Gaxi sending it towards the shack and try and get a forward position for the Rumblers, but just not many options. Even after those fights on the edge now, this is exactly what I was talking about. It doesn't grant any of these teams a good spot in the circle.
Gas Cans kind of eyeing back over towards Rumblers, who do have themselves a compound that they can play from, but don't want to play it too aggressively just quite yet. One Eye Open also kind of eyeing back over this direction. Last member that is up for the hard shifts also kind of hearing what's happening. Looks like Guadalajara Gas Cans have found their approach vector that they're wanting to take. There's a couple of grenades that are going to slow them down just a touch, but yet again, it's going to be Honey Badger just trying to carve a path for his team, seeing the fact that he can be enough of a distraction, hit the shots, and really just try to step his way through. The problem with it is now it's actually the Sonics that are in now having some type of sightline to play around. Fortunately, though, Fable tries to make a send right through the center of the map, draw Sonic's attention away from this, allowing Gas Cans to continue their press up and forward. Fable do manage to make themselves a little bit of a foothold, but it's not in the best of positions. Grenade's going to go ahead and land. Greg shot on near on no life. If this bounce is good, that should be able to tear down Rip. And yes, the Gas Cans are going to continue to try to move forward. Already one Rumbler down. McCoy at half life, laying back down onto the point. Comets have been kind of hearing everything that's going on. They're finally about to start making a move, but Lord only knows where they're going to go at this point.
Yeah, Honey Badger really unlucky with that spray onto the backside of McCoy, but here you go, Nikos and Voxic going to try and pressure on towards Lost HD. He's got to hold down the hanger here. Voxic actually gets the trade on that. Nikos did fall, but they were stacked up so well that it didn't become an issue for them. And now McCoy down to low HP. He's got to hold the line here because we already know everybody else on Rumblers has fallen. It's the last man standing for them. So Gascan's up to 11 kills, looking to make it 12. McCoy sending some utilities through, and actually he's going to try and capitalize off of that flash. Voxic has to tuck himself into the corner. McCoy doesn't find the second, though. Voxic finds it. Rumblers will fall, and Gascans will cling to life on the edge here, Matt.
12 kills for the Gas Cans right now, and they have themselves a compound in the circle. So they got to play it a little bit more carefully. Comets, on the other hand, do manage to get themselves inside the safe zone, but you can see the amount of terrain that they're working with. They've got themselves their Murado, kind of crouched at the top of the hill to try to deny a little bit more sight lines, but that's not going to be enough. There's just too many different firing lines to work with. ATC's got to flank off to one side, One Eye off to another point. Now that Gas Cans are a little bit more free, they might even be able to take pot shots back over here as well. Sonics are a little bit more distracted on what's going on in the low ground, but still just trying to rein in, get a little bit more damage on what's going on. One Eye tries to move down and forward. They're going to go ahead and get taken out based off their approach. And the circle's going to go ahead and pop, and yet again, favors Sonics with a smidgen of the gas cans, as well as Fabled in their low position.
Color me surprised. The circle kept going to the north here, but Comets, I mean, they have to run the same gauntlet that Fable just had to. And you can see already the Murado smoking is missing. I assume the other two tires on the right side of the vehicle. ATC foaming at the mouth for these kill points. But again, ATC don't really have too many options. If they can deal with Greg, they can potentially set up on the opposite side of the road to Sonics, but it's not a great spot. It's inside throwables range. And Sonics have been sitting in the compound, so you got to assume they still have a lot of utility to use.
ATC making that push back over, and now going to have to contest with Fabled that are just trying to creep right along this dip next to the road. That's also kind of cornering out Sonic's movement at the time, just based off the fact that gas cans do have a little bit of a sight line. But gas cans can also look back down through this fairly efficiently, and you can see kind of harassing Marsalek in his positioning. Looks like Sonics might be opting to just continue to harass Comets back over there, as Comets are going to have to run back through this point, and it's not going to be pretty whenever they do. Shrimsy, what are you doing? Are you just bringing style, or are you just out of ammo? I feel like he had to switch over to a new gun, and he hits a headshot on the Nico.
H-Win's got one as well.
I love what is happening from the Sonics. This is what happens whenever you have that much of a point lead. Go ahead and start bringing in a little bit of style.
So they're running dual Winnies here.
Double the Winnies, double the fun, man. That's all I can say.
And somehow H-Win has 5 kills. What?
New meta. Let's bring in the Winnie. I want it. Let's make it a thing. And they are just wrecking Comets off to the side. Comets off to one point, but you can see ATC also in trouble from a different firing line there. Comets finally do go down. Awful good shots connected between the two of them, and now it's going to be ATC just trying to figure out, okay, we've got ourselves the dip, but where do we go? If they encroach forward, gas cans are going to have a sight line for them. If they creep up the hillside, Sonics are going to have a sight line on them.
Well, the problem is, I just saw Tig with 44 bullets total, and even less now. Nothing is in his M4. So maybe that's the reason they're running Winnies, because they've just run out of ammo.
I feel like they were just the guns on the ground.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but with Tig, when Tig's only got 25-5, you know something's up, because he's the type of player that's constantly active through the mid game, pressuring teams, farming damage. So this could be a problem for Sonics in the end game if they just don't have any ammo left, because this circle has pulled away. There's still the corner of their compound is in.
Honey Badger again. Look at that. Grab the motorcycle, reposition back behind the shack, has himself a new distracting angle. That's just kind of Honey Badger's MO for what we've been seeing success coming up from the gas cans. Just move into aggressive point, really just start trying to bring attention back over towards you. And it's almost like an MMO, and he's the tank for his team. He moves into an aggressive spot, tries to get everybody's attention, and then tries to get something based off of that and open up new angles for his team. And it's working. ATC just cannot find out which angle that they want to deal with. Meanwhile, Sonics are just setting up more and more fortifications, seeing if they can maybe get a sight line back over towards the gas cans, but just can't quite seem to get it yet. Do note, the gas cans compound is not going to be in play, and they are about to have to move, and this is about to be bloody. See, the smoke's now starting to come out. Mime has to read what's going on. Marsalek actually does hit the shot back over towards him. There's a quick pickup coming up from Tig as well. Going to go ahead and use what remaining ammo they have to see if they can at least decimate the gas cans. Honey Badger is inside a zone, though, but ATC now starting to stretch out on the other side of the road to see if maybe they can contain the Sonics.
Yeah, a little bit of utility actually going over towards Sonics as well. The Molotov just cutting off the entry into that smoke. Honey Badger was pressuring onto the backside of ATC as well, so expect him to play spoiler from that position. Yeah, I mean, they've run out of ammo. Mime's running a Tommy gun.
Give us a melee. Just start punching, man. Just start punching. Throw all of your ammo on one person and see what you can get. You just got to get in range to start swinging, boys. H1 tries to get in swinging range. Doesn't quite work out, but it's going to be a quick follow-up coming up from Tig. Now inside the smokes, getting a stretch position. Looks back over towards ACC on the side. Quick exchanges going back and forth. Mime, the last one up, just crawling through his down teammates to provide some type of defensive line for him. You can see Honey Badger still back behind this, starting to make a little bit of a play of his own, looking towards ATC, seeing if maybe he can connect, and good shot. Going to go ahead and pick that one off. Agia, the last one up for his team. Mime now moving forward, moving into the last remaining smoke, narrowly does make it down into there with just a smidgen of life. So we are now in a firm position to look at this crosswise, where it is a 1v1v1. Aguila starting to look back over towards Honey Badger's position. Going to go ahead and get the tag back over towards H1. Get a little bit more space, trying to flush those out. It looks like the 2 remaining members from the other team are just like, I want the Sonics points. I want to get the kills back over towards them. Aguila creeping forward. Honey Badger doing the same, but it's going to be Mime on his belly, slow creeping forward on this little bit of a hill. Just trying to make some type of play. If he can get in range, he's got the bullets, 50 rounds. Mime might be able to make something happen. Honey Badger, who's been such a big component for his team, now starting to hop around, seeing if maybe he can spot what's going on, but doesn't get sightline back over to Aguila just quite yet. Aguila sitting on a ton of ammo, now starting to look back over towards Honey Badger's angle, and everybody down on their belly, slowly creeping forward. Looks like Honey Badger has an idea on where Mime might be at. Aguila keeps looking back over towards Gascan's last player of Honey Badger, and it is just a slow and steady approach. As the blue is closing back behind Aguila, he's going to have to be the first one to move out of this point, maybe moving into Mime's firing line, but no, he gets spots out, getting this down to a 1v1. Honey Badger spots it out, goes for the shots back over towards him, connects with a lot, but not quite enough, finally does manage to get it, and that's going to be Gascans with a hefty 18 kills.
Wow, what a performance from them. It was go from the start. I mean, again, Honey Badger's reposition becomes the factor in the late game there for them, and he's able to capitalize, so do so much damage from that position. Just absolutely insane stuff from Gascan so far.
It's just, I love it whenever teams just play what works for them. I know that we talked about established metas and movements, and we've been kind of trumpeting a lot of what Gascans have been doing, but that's just because it's different from what a lot of these other teams are doing. And the fact that they're finding success with it just shows the fact that Battle Royales aren't always cut and dry. Whenever you want to approach what's best for you. Not just because some other team in another region does something. Use what you can use to get the wins. And by God, Gascan's last game right here is a great statement of that.
Yeah, no, really. Again, you could argue there was a little bit of compound curse in play for Sonics, but they still put, what, 6, 7 kills up, maybe? I can't remember what the final tally was. But
I think H1 walked away with 5 just by himself, if I remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the other guys had 1 or 2 kills between them. But anyway, I mean, it obviously became a factor there. We were joking about it. It was pretty evident. They tried to remain active through the mid-game and, I mean, ran out of resources, to be honest.
I know a lot of people have been saying the fact that Sonics got this one in the bags, but man, you can see the Gascans are trying. They are wanting to try to catch up to this one, but good games coming out of both these teams. If anything, we know as we're moving into the games next week, it's going to be one hell of a grand finals. We're going to go ahead and throw it back over to the analyst desk. Thank you guys so much, and make sure, get ready, because Toffee's about to throw a code your way. Toffees, take it away.
People said they can't, but they proved that they can as they come out on top. But first, let's go ahead, and I even slowed it down. It was so bad. Let's get the code, because people smile when they get codes. PNFP4HDUFY34. Just like in PCS2, you can get free voting coupons in PCS3 live broadcasts. Redeem the code in the add bonus/gift code section of the Pick'em Challenge event tab. Codes are very limited, so act fast. And remember, only 1 redemption per account. Okay, let's talk about that match. I'll turn it right over to you guys. The Gascans come out on top, and it has been a day where every game has gone to a top 3 team, Poro.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you get 2 from Oath, and then you get a Sonics and a Gascans, and what an impressive win there for Gascans, and it made it even more impressive by the fact that, yeah, it was a circle that ended kind of around their normal drop location, but they didn't drop in their normal drop location this game. The plane didn't allow them to. They actually had to rotate into this, coming from north of Pozo, and playing it in a way that they're really not accustomed to. So it was kind of tough sledding for them the whole way through, and they still managed to come through with 18 kills. Man, what a great performance!
Absolutely wild game. Let's take a look back at it, Clover, because I think you know what time it is.
It is highlights.
Hey, it's a 3 for.
Bring that energy and look at this already. I stand for Gascans, guys. I mean, they were all over the place, and I mean, you've got to be if you're racking up 18 kills and some heartbreaking finishes to some teams that really need the points. Now, one thing about this game, we've talked about, obviously, the wins have gone to our top 3 teams today, but a lot of our teams that have been at the bottom of the leaderboard did really well for themselves this game too, staying up late. We had Fabled, ATC, and Comets in the top 5 for this match, and those are some teams right now circling the drain near the bottom of the leaderboard. They needed something here.
That's hurtful.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I tried to make gas stands a thing yesterday. Unfortunately, it didn't catch on. But maybe stand for gas cans. That's the one we're looking for. We take a look at Sonics. You know that compound curse is real when you stay so long in a compound that by the time you're pushing out with Tommy guns and Winchesters. Well, I'm really curious. We'll see if we can see how much damage they actually got done with those Winnies. But what a great clutch there from Mime at the end. But man, Sonics, I feel like there's a couple of European casters that are pulling their hair out right now when they saw those Winchesters getting used there and the Tommy gun at the end. But there's a reason behind everything sometimes.
All right, let's take a look at the leaderboards from that match as we think about just how far can you go with a Tommy gun. And you can go pretty deep as they yelled, "You dirty rats!" Got 8 kills and 13 points, but the real story, Clover, is an 18-kill game by the Guadalajara Gas Cans.
That is a game that is going to really put them closer with Sonics. The thing, of course, that hurt them out is, once again, Sonics up in the late game, getting a lot of kills and putting down 13 points for themselves. So it makes chasing them just as difficult when you can have a 28-point game, and yet that's not enough to really close the gap significantly. But never say never. Guadalajara Gas Cans are getting there. I also want to give a shout out to ATC once again, finding themselves up here at the top. You really love to see it from a team that just has been struggling for some reason in the grand finals, not being able to make it work. But I kind of said it during the highlights. We could see it here. A lot of teams that really needed a chance to get some points had a moment to shine this match.
Yeah, I mean, ATC obviously having a little bit of a turnaround today, and same with Sonics, or not Sonics, Comets, rather. Another decent performing, nice little outing for them. And unfortunately, on the other side of the coin there, you have Oath, who started off today with 2 fantastic games on Erangel, 2 back-to-back wins, and then they just could not seem to get anything going here on Miramar. So, they still have a great day overall, but it's based off of the sheer strength of those 2 games on Erangel. Kind of wish they would have been able to do a little bit more here.
All right, let's take a look at the leaders in terms of kills and damage. In the meantime, Clover, you said you had special stats for me?
I finally got some damage stats from the Winchester. I know we're getting into kills. We've got damage after this, but I couldn't wait any longer. H-Win, 16 shots, 142.79 damage. Shrimzy, 36 shots with 105.55 damage. So that H-Win, of course, as we saw in the kill feed, did get that knock on the Winchester. It's wild. We love to see those crazy games enter the meta here into esports.
I think maybe they might want to go hit the training ground on the Winchester a little bit more there.
Can you imagine getting knocked by it though? Can you imagine getting knocked by it though, and like the feed you drop and your team just goes, "Did you just get killed by a Winchester? Did that just happen?" Let's take a look at the damage and see exactly how it went out. Will double thumbs be in the damage leaders? No. Ooh. I felt relatively confident about that coming off of #1 kills. That's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, look, H-Win still finding himself up in the damage charts despite a little Winchester foray there. But once again, not at all surprising, and he's getting a little bit more love here in this last game. But Nikos has been doing phenomenally for Gas Cans. It's not just the Badger and Oldlist show or Voxic and Badger show anymore. Nikos is starting to contribute in a big way, and that team is just firing on all cylinders right now. The only thing that's in their way is Sonics, and that's a big ass to overcome that.
Yes, it is. I do want to give a shout out to J-Sank, 5th place, hard shifts. They went out early in 8th, and he got 3 kills though, so at least putting some points on the board. Let's take a look at the overall. Sonics is at 185, but Clover, the Guadalajara guys, getting a lot closer.
If you have picked Sonics, I have picked Sonics. Obviously, guys, if you're watching, make sure you get your pick'ems in by this weekend, because that is going to close soon. Guadalajara Gas Cans, this is definitely a team to go into consideration into next week, because look at just how many points they were able to put down today. Look how wonderful and popped off they looked every single match. I think this momentum is going to keep going. I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing from them.
This is the best. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick, this is the best day that any team has had in the grand final so far. 64 points in one day for Gas Cans.
So help our viewers at home, Poro. If you had 3 coupons to pick, where would you put your 3 coupons here in North America?
Ooh. I mean, you have to go with the top three right now. Honestly, I mean, those are your only real reasonable shots going with one weekend left to 8 more games. You know, I can see the gas cans putting together something, maybe putting together something special and turning the last day into a race here. And then, you know, Oath, I'm not giving up on him. I'm not giving up on him at all yet.
I'd put all 3 on Oath. Let's take a look at the overall kill leader. Not overall kill leaders. Honey Badger, 2 thumbs up, 39 people down as the King of K's comes through big time so far, Clover.
I mean, look, that's such a happy face. He's so proud of all that he's accomplished here. And again, the growth that Honey Badger has had, not only in PCS3, but just this entire year, shows that the potential this player is still going to continue having. And we're not even done yet. We've still got 1 more week for all of these guys to play. But I'm expecting to see his name at the top of this leaderboard. I know we've got Tiggleton there in second with 33. But, you know, Oldless up here too with 26. The support and the aggression that Guadalajara gas cans have, and the way that all 4 of them are playing together are a reason that we continue to see them top of these lists. But additionally, you know, shout out to Shrimsy and Relo as well. They've put in so much work for their teams, 26 apiece. But I think the big race here obviously is going to be between Badger and Tiggleton.
All right, let's take a look at 5 damage. Top damage dealers. Poro.
I mean, Tig is built himself a slight lead, just a slight lead there. Fortunately, not having to play with Winchesters yet. I think everybody was probably still handing them all their 5.56 ammo and just saying, you know what, Tig, you do this, I'll use the Winnie, no big deal. But look at that, man! 3 Sonics boys in the top 5 to join with Honey Badger and Relo, and just great performances coming out of all these guys. And let's take I guess we'll go over to overall knocks, but I wanted to kind of talk about gas cans a little bit more and just kind of give credit where credit is due. This is even going back to the 303 days with Badger and Voxic and on a slightly different roster with 2 other players. Once they got and they picked up Oldless and Nikos, even back in the 303 days, you can tell that there was something there with Badger and Voxic, and they were one of the few teams that it seemed were willing to go out of their way to try new things, to try different things. They went and scouted Korea. They went and scouted China, and they looked at how all these different teams were playing, and they picked up on those strategies, added it into their meta, found things that didn't work, they found things that worked, and now that they've found things that work for them, it's finally all starting to come together, and it's just awesome to see.
All right, I love the gas cans talk. I'm going to take this frame to get a little soapbox going here about the Sonics. I know it's your team, Clover, but here's what I want to say about them. 4 of them on the assist top 5. We talk a lot about Tig, right? We saw the seat swap video from groups over and over again, probably because the casters were so awesome on that highlight. We saw amazing play by him yesterday, and we talk a lot about Tig, which is deserved. I stand by that 100%. But all weekend, every time Tig came up big, Mime was right there with him with the support. You've got Sharky and Hwin doing incredible things as they constantly are there for the team. It is... Did I say Sharky? Shrimsy.
You did say Sharky. I was like, wow, that's a throwback.
But my point is, I have been very impressed with the Sonics because I'm used to seeing superstars. I'm used to seeing these sort of carries and everybody else is there helping out. It feels like the Sonics are the total package. This is a championship team. If this were any other sport, we'd be packing them for the world championships already. And that's what's impressed me the most is there isn't like a quote unquote support player. Everyone is there. Everyone is high impact, Clover.
You know, I was actually going to kind of bring that up because there has been an discussion outside, obviously, of our caster desk here about what is or isn't a support player and who is or isn't a support player on a team. And sometimes when we say support, what we really mean in that is that if there is somebody who is the shining star on a roster, it's the support that they themselves are receiving. Now, all 4 members of Sonics are fantastic fantastic fraggers. They're fantastic players. Their mechanics, their meta, every aspect of them is so well polished. Tiggleton is the front runner when we look at these lists, but that comes from, and as we saw with that, the assist and the work that all of them do together. One person gets a knock, the other's going to make sure they get the flush. They're going to make sure they get those kills. And it's the way that they work together that really makes them a scary team. And one of the reasons why they've got such a big lead. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see that come out of this league, come out of these rosters, and come out of these players that we've been watching for so long.
Well, guys, that's about all the time we have for today. Poro, let's do some final thoughts before we close it out for the night.
Yeah, just kind of latching on to what Clover just said. It's not just that all of the Sonics players are all really good fraggers. They're also, every single player on that team is a support player. They all support each other. They all support each other fragging. So it's just good to see that they're working and operating as a fantastic team. Gascans very much the same way, Oath the same way. But you know what? That's it for week 2. Going into the last week, I am really, really excited to see this thing kind of set up for a race at the end. I know it looks like it's kind of been maybe a race that's already been won, but I don't believe that for a second. I believe that Gascans can keep this momentum going.
Clover, final thoughts?
I mean, just to mirror again what Poro has just as well said, Gascans definitely have the potential to play catch up with this. I think that this is going to come down to the very last match for them. But, you know, Oath's got a lot of work ahead of them. I think getting to first is going to be a tough pull, but for sure, the battle for the top 3 continues on. The battle for the top 5 is just starting to pop up. We have so many teams just barely out of the top 5 that are also within reach of that. So I think that whatever the leaderboard looks like today, it is going to be a far cry of what it looks like at the end of this series.
All right, guys, you heard our final thoughts. We're going to be back just a couple of days with the final weekend. But before we do, I want to remind you to check out PUBG Esports over on TikTok at pubg.esports.official. If you tag hashtag esports for all and hashtag PCS3 NA on your PUBG TikTok content, you could be featured on our next broadcast. Now, it wouldn't be a PCS3 show if we didn't end with a little bit of story time for you guys. So I'm going to tell you about a special place. Hidden among the clouds is the mysterious and treacherous plateau of Paramo, home to untold secrets and a very active volcano. This small-scale map will be a true game changer with dynamic lava flows and locations that change every time you drop in. PUBG Season 9 available now. Hashtag
llamas.
Discover Paramo. I have one too.
I'm so jealous of your llamas. I don't have one.
You get llamas.
They're cousins.
No.
They are.
Llamas are cousins. Hey, cuz.
You see them?
Well, I want to remind you guys before we go completely off the rails that you should tune in for day 5 of NA. November 19th, we're going to be back, and the 20th, same time, same place, 4 p.m. PST for those of you bad at conversions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. However, tomorrow we're kicking off even more PUBG with the APAC day 3 on the 14th. So that's going to start at 2 a.m. PST. So if you're like me or Poro and you don't like to sleep, we'll see you there when those games kick off in a few hours. I'm sure that it seems to happen regularly. So that really is it for guys. We've loved having you here hang out with us. It's going to be a great weekend of PUBG, and we know you have a lot of options on a Friday night, so the fact that you're here hanging out with us means the world. So from myself, from Clover, from Porosaurus, from Matrim, Hypoc, and Cammy and Godspeed, who weren't here tonight but will be back next week, we appreciate you so much, and we can't wait to see you again. But until we do, play more PUBG. This is a really soft llama.